A partly cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng today with afternoon showers and thundershowers expected. Lows of between 16 and 18 degrees and highs of between 32 and 33. The top story in EWN this hour. KZN Hawks boss Leseja Sinona is expected to be one of the witnesses to testify before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Your brain's a well-oiled machine. Now put it to work in the brain of 702. Enter on primemediaplus.com. T's and C's apply.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, Sanbonani, Bunju. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. Great to have you with us here on 702. I hope you're good this morning. 011-883-0702. That's the number to dial on the 702 open line this morning. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. What did you think of the testimony of Witness E at the Madlanga Commission yesterday? Even the testimony of the acting Deputy Police Commissioner in KZN. So the suspended police minister, Senzo Mchunu, or maybe you prefer the one who is on special leave, Senzo Mchunu, has been accused of interfering with investigations into cases of ward councillors. He's also been accused of coercing a witness to lie to the Madlanga Commission and of trying to implicate crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo in the killing of Sindiso Makaka. And I wonder if you think this sinks the minister even further, because he's already sunk just from the testimony from last year and his own testimony. I mean, there are questions he couldn't answer when he testified before the Madlanga Commission, and there are concessions he had to make about the process he failed to follow before disbanding the PKTT. Happy for you to share your thoughts with us on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps as well, 072-702-1702. The Nkabinde inquiry is set to resume. So, yesterday the NPA head Shamila Batohi refused to continue with her testimony without legal advice. This is according to a report on EWN. So, the evidence leaders in that inquiry are now also experiencing significant challenges with all the witnesses they had lined up to testify regarding former KZN Hawks boss Johan Boyson and his Kato Manor unit. And I was just thinking, I mean, wouldn't you be worried as well if you were due to testify before the Nkabinde inquiry? Did you see what they did to Shamila Batohi? I mean, there's a reason why she decided to walk away and say she needs legal advice. Is she ever going to come back? And who's going to be brave enough to sit there unless they know their story? Because Advocate Ngukai Toby doesn't play games, eh? So it's just been messy at that inquiry. The evidence leaders are now insisting on a week-long break as Batohi's bid for legal advice continues to play out. Kanye West has apologized again. Okay, I've got to explain this, right? So, if you know me, you know I have always been a big fan of Kanye West. And I took a very difficult decision about 3 years ago, if not 4 years ago, or 5 years ago. But I remember it was live on this show. And I actually just decided and spoke about it live on this show. It was on the open line, and I remember deciding that I am done with Kanye West. Because I was just tired of the emotional abuse, because that's how I feel. He's got a tendency of, I don't want to say it's making mistakes, but he's got a tendency of doing things that hurt other people. And he doesn't take accountability. In fact, he wants to try and find justifications for his actions. And I forgave him the first time. I forgave him. And then just the third or so time, I just couldn't. And I decided, you know what? I'm done. I've always loved his music, but I'm deciding to walk away. And I will live with that decision for the rest of my life. And that's always the posture I've taken. Now, he's apologized. Again, this is probably like the fourth time. And I wonder how you feel about these patterns of apologies. If you are also a Kanye West fan, maybe you're not, but you've been observing him. And, you know, when I first saw the apology, I thought, oh my God, are we getting the old Kanye back? Is this it? Maybe he gets it this time. Does he mean it this time around? Because he's now apologizing to the Jewish community. He's apologizing to the black community as well. But then I remembered that he's got a new project coming up. So he could be doing this because he's got this new project that he's going to launch. He's dropping an album soon, if I'm not mistaken. So what he's done now is he put up an ad on the Wall Street Journal, 4-page apology on the Wall Street Journal, which is quite interesting and so strategic. And I don't even know how he thinks this is supposed to pan out. But it feels like it's an apology that's heartfelt. It feels like it's an apology that he means. But haven't previous apologies felt the same way? I don't know if Kanye West can rebuild his image again. And I don't know if people can actually trust him when he apologizes. So here's a question I want to ask you. If you're a Kanye West fan, let me know what you think about this latest apology. But maybe you're not a Kanye West fan, but you've been disappointed with someone you admire before. And you've accepted their apology. And what if it was repeated apologies? Like, what did it take for the people you've admired to get back into your good books? I know a lot of people often talk about Lauryn Hill and how sometimes she just doesn't arrive at concerts. Some people complain about Trump and the many crazy things that Trump will say, but they still stick with him. Who is that person for you who has disappointed you, but you admire them so much? You've got a soft spot for them, for their talent, for their politics, their brain, and you just keep coming back for their work. Because the reality, guys, is artists are human too. I mean, if you've got a friend or a colleague who makes the same mistakes or does the same things, or a lover, they keep on apologizing and coming back to you, why would you think artists' lives are different? And artists are quite complex humans, I can tell you that much. I've got friends that are close to me that are artists, and they're very complex human beings. But the tough thing with being in the public eye is that your mistakes are public, your apologies are public, your relapses are public. But your life as a politician, as an artist, as an actor, as a famous lawyer, whatever, as an author, your life is not too different to just ordinary human beings. The difference is that yours is on a spotlight. So, I read this apology, and to be honest with you, I'm still undecided this morning. Because a part of me feels bad for Kanye because I've got a soft spot for him. But I'm also like, I need him to take accountability, because that's the thing about me. When I decide that I'm a fan of you, it's based on your being holistically. So it's not just your artistry. It's like your activism. Like, what are your politics? That matters to me. It's like, I always make an example with Lewis Hamilton. I don't just like Lewis Hamilton because he's the GOAT, the most brilliant driver Formula One has ever had. But I love him because I love his story. I love his background story. I love the representation that he has in society, what he represents. I love his politics. So even with Kanye, I've had a soft spot, but I'm too removed from some of his politics and some of the things they've had to say because they've hurt other people. And I hate that he never wants to take accountability. What do you think? Do you have someone for you who constantly disappoints you, but you come back because you really admire them? Or you've completely written them off. You don't even listen to their music anymore because of what they've done. Or you don't follow their politics anymore. You don't vote for them anymore. You don't buy their books anymore. 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. At 10 o'clock, we're going to speak to Thabiso Zulu, who is the friend of the late Sindiso Makaka. I mean, this is someone who also blew the lid on the alleged reasons behind Makaka's assassination. And this, of course, is a conversation which follows from what Witness E had to say about the investigation into Sindiso Makaka's murder. At 10:30, we're going to be in conversation with the Mine Workers Investment Company as they celebrate 30 years of the MIC. At 11 o'clock on our World of Work feature, we're going to be discussing South Africa's most in-demand jobs for 2026. And then we wrap up the show at 11:30 with our health and wellness feature. Today we're discussing the impact of sugar on adults. Because sugar is everywhere, hey? It's in our morning coffee, packaged snacks, your sauces, even foods that we don't think of as sweet. And many of us may associate sugar with childhood treats or occasional indulgence, but the reality is that as adults, we're consuming far more sugar than we may actually realize, often on a daily basis. So we need to find a way to reduce that, to manage that, but also know what the consequences of that consumption are. So our expert is going to take us through that at 11:30. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good morning, Clement. It's long been said that apologizing without changing behavior is simply manipulation.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say about Kanye. This is Tsidi.
Clement, quite an interesting topic, man, on the Kanye West thing. For the longest of time, and I don't know when this happened with me, but I actually did that introspection right now when you started talking about him. Probably R. Kelly or Paul Cosby. And for me, lately, the work of any artist or any person just serves as inspiration for what it is that I am admiring them for. And that's where it ends. So I'm not going to go beyond, what he does, even for kids that are struggling or whatever. It's his art, his music, the movie or whatever it is that this person do that's in the public eye. How does that speak to me and my values, and how can I use that? And I sometimes even talk to young kids, because I'm in that space, about, just taking the positives out of that. And yeah, if there is probably a positive story out there, but yeah, it's guarding myself from idolizing people that's going to disappoint you, because people are going to do that. Whether it's a soccer star, a tennis star, you might like Djokovic, but then he goes and then he supports.
Okay, I think that got cut off abruptly there when you were recording it, but I think I get your point. But how do we avoid that? I mean, the very nature of people being celebrities, being in the public eye, is that you are naturally going to idolize them. That's the reality. And you get inspired by them. But why don't we have a conversation about how gracious we should be towards the people we admire? Because I think that's what's missing. I think we're quick to judge people in the public eye. Like, you're quick to judge Julius Malema, you're quick to judge the president, you're quick to judge whoever your favorite artist is, yeah? Adele or Beyonce or Kanye West. We're very quick to judge them. But if these people were not famous, but they were someone in your life that you just get along with, would you take the same posture? I think the reason I judge them also so quickly, and I'm not saying that is right, is because I expect at the very least that they understand the responsibility that they hold. You hold a lot of responsibility. So if you're going to come out and say the most ridiculous thing that have no basis, like what Kanye has done before. I mean, the stuff he said about slavery and black people and that being a choice, the stuff he said about the Jewish community, that's disgusting stuff. And even when he was pointed to the truth and he was told, Kanye, look at it this way, you may be wrong, he doesn't want to. And in this apology now, he says, okay, he's bipolar, and his previous doctors have told him he is autistic, but actually it is bipolar. And when you are bipolar, you've got these episodes where you think this is your reality and it's the truth, but it's actually not. You end up hurting people in the process. And he says he realizes that. But then again, I'm like, this is an American artist who could be strategic here. He's going to have an album that drops soon. Because this happens a lot in America. Like in Hollywood, when you see a big stunt being pulled by an artist, just research what are they working on, what's about to come out. Because that's how America works. And it does even work in politics, even though we may not want to admit it. Destruction. It's the art of destruction. When there's an issue that they know can be too big enough to destabilize the current political system, what they do is they find something else that's so big that's going to go push, and then all of us now talk about that. Like when the Epstein files came out, and then Venezuela. I mean, what a big move to pull. I mean, you got to give it to Trump. That's very smart. If that's what he was going for, then he is bloody smart. If he was trying to distract us, because what better way to distract us than to get your army to go kidnap a president from another sovereign state? People were on holiday pauses, because they're talking about what Trump has just done. Anyway, how do you feel about artists who come back and repeatedly do the same mistake? Or your author, do you cut them off, or are you willing to go, I don't want to engage you as a human, but I'm going to engage you as an artist and only take that from you?
Clement, to me, I don't listen to his music, but I'll hear his music, and I like the guy. It was Shebe, what? That guy, I used to give him a benefit of a doubt, but now I know. For me, it feels like he's just a toxic man. I don't even want my kids to listen to his music. That guy, no, man. I gave him a chance, but after there's so many scandals and videos I saw being violent, doing all the stuff, I just switched him off. I don't want anything to do with him. Maybe one day when he has says he has proven that he has changed, then maybe. But now,
Mr. Manyathela, Dumela to you and your listeners. On Kanye West, I think his first 3 albums will always be a classic to me. I still listen to those. I still enjoy that music. However, I think the guy is a egocentric maniac. He's addicted to fame. And that's never going to change, unfortunately. That's who Kanye West is. You can appreciate his music, but Kanye, West, that's never going to change. He's an egocentric maniac. Gregory in Blackstop.
Yeah, but he says there's a reason for that, because he's sick. Yeah, I do miss some of his albums. I do. I miss Jesus is King. I miss Donda. The album that sometimes I'm driving or I'm taking a jog and I'm just feeling like I want to listen to this. But I'm also like, this guy is not learning, I don't know. And please don't judge me next time you see me at the traffic lights. I'm bursting Kanye West music. It's a decision I would have taken in that moment. At the moment, I'm still undecided with him because I don't know if he means it. But actions speak louder than words. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do now going forward. On Twitter, someone says, "Hi Clement, I've stopped listening to Nicki Minaj's music because of her support for Trump." That's a message from Mihlali J19 on Twitter. And then another person says, yes, Clement, Kanye West's apology is strategic. Let's also take into consideration his mental health issues. I know his apology will be short-lived. So Clem, Ola, and listen to the new album. You won't be disappointed. He most likely will disappoint you again. That's a message there from Bonga. Another one says, oh, come on, Clement. Did he even write that apology? Kind of feels too rehearsed for me. He can keep it until he speaks for himself, please. Yeah, that's the thing. And maybe it would have hit differently if Kanye West said it himself, like in an interview or he put up a video. I mean, it's a statement. And honestly speaking, you can tell that there are professionals who helped him write that statement. So is it heartfelt? Is it coming from the heart? Is it a serious realization? Very difficult to tell. Really difficult to tell.
Morning 702 family. The artist I will always forgive is R. Kelly. That man wears his heart in his sleeve. He says the things that he feels and thinks. It is music. He has apologized several times, even in some of his songs. And I think that's a respectable trait that he has, despite the price that he's had to pay for some of his actions. So R. Kelly, I'll always forgive, and I'll always listen to his music. It's Owen here in Leeds. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning. With me, it has to be a politician by the name of Jacob Kelehlekisa Zuma. I used to idolize the man, his tactics, though I feel like he has overstayed. In fact, he has overdone his politics. I think it's time for him to retire. I no longer see him as I used to see him. So, yeah, goes for the big guy, Jay-Z.
Interesting. I don't often come across people who write off Jay-Z completely, hey? People who love Jay-Z, up to forever, really. So it's very rare to come across someone who says, oh, Jacob Zuma was the man, and I used to idolize him, and not anymore. So that's interesting, actually.
Good morning, Clement and the listeners. Any publicity is good publicity. So in his case, because of the project that he's about to launch, he wants people to speak about him so that they can be curious about the project itself. He's a good artist. We have to give it to him. It's unfortunate that as human beings, we have those shortcomings. In his case, he has a lot of shortcomings, and he's in the public eye. Tammy from Neardale. Thank you.
Yeah, true, Tammy. I suppose what I'm asking is, as human beings then, how can we be more accommodative of these people we admire and understand that they're human too? Right? So even when someone does this repeatedly, they come apologize. How do we then go, oh, okay, it's fine. I get it. And I'll give them a second chance. I just find that sometimes we're a little bit too harsh when it comes to people in the public eye or people that we admire, because how dare they, they're supposed to live this perfect life. Like, do not make mistakes, And this is life, guys. The same mistakes we make are the same mistakes they can make. So maybe we need to rationalize that and not have these unfair expectations on them. It's 9:30. Bali has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. More of your calls and WhatsApps after the latest in Eyewitness News. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. KZN Hawks boss Lesija Sinona is set to testify before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria this morning. Sinona and his son Tato have been linked to criminally accused tender tycoon Vusumuzi Madlala. The commission previously heard that Tato Sinona had business interests with Madlala and that the pair had a potential property deal in place. The Gauteng government is expected to unveil the province's intervention plan to tackle the foot and mouth disease outbreak. The measures come as livestock continues to be affected across several parts of the province. Gauteng MEC for Agriculture, Vuyisa Ramaphosa, will lead today's announcement together with Premier Panyaza Lesufi. And as pressure mounts over Knysna's deepening water crisis, attention is also turning to leadership in that municipality. Knysna's executive mayor Thando Matika is facing calls to resign, but says changing mayors will not fix long-standing infrastructure failures. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling in the city of Tshwane, we've got a major accident scene reported on the N1 North. It's right near Linwood Road. Delays from the Flying Saucer turnoff. In fact, if you're coming out of Botha Avenue at this particular moment, you'll be met with those delays. About a 20-minute hold up all the way towards the Proof Plus turnoff. So please be on the lookout and try to avoid if you can. If you're heading towards the CBD, you can still use the N14 North as well as the R55 through the Brakfontein interchange. And then travelling on the N1 South towards Midrand, queuing traffic between Samrand and New Road. There's also slow-moving traffic in Sunny Hill along the N1 North towards the Baklu interchange. If you're in the Paulshof area, please be on the lookout or do expect some delays along Witkoppen Road approaching Umhlanga Avenue. And then if you're traveling on the Mike 1 South, we've got queuing traffic between Marlborough Drive and Athol Oakland. So heading towards Melrose at this particular moment could take you about 20 minutes there. So please plan ahead of time. And then that accident we spoke about earlier on the N1 North leaving the Soweto area has been moved to the side of the road, but do expect delays towards Albertina Sisulu Road turn off. I'll have more updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Tabani, you've called in from Pretoria. What is the name of the American jazz and soul singer born on this day in 1958?
It's Anita Baker.
It can only be the delightful, beautiful Anita Denise Baker. You're obviously a fan, Taban.
Yeah, you could say that.
You? On live radio, questioning your fandom of Anita Baker.
Nah, she's all right, Africa.
Tis.
You.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
South Africa's musical theatre classic Marabi returns on stage of the Market Theatre with an exceptional cast, launching the theatre's 50th anniversary year. This much-loved play with live music is directed by original cast member Arthur Molepo. Set in the tough Dorenfontein yards of the 1930s, Marabi follows a family chasing hope in Johannesburg, bound by love, loss, and unforgettable music. Marabi runs from the 29th of January to the 15th of February. Visit markettheatre.co.za for tickets.
What's with the camouflage, Doof?
I'm going hunting. Just me, nature, and my most underrated off-roader, a rental car.
Hunting? You could fit that little car in your backpack, Doof.
I sit in the driver's seat, baggage at the back, chairs on the roof. The kudu is going to get in and strap its own seatbelt, Savvy.
Could do with more legroom, Doof. Go hunt for a new 4x4 at WeBuy Cars. They got great deals.
Oh, shot, Savvy.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for that big trip, geared for you.
Okay, truck 7, that has 0 warning lights. Truck 8, it's just been serviced. I guess we're running like a well-oiled machine. Where would I be without MyWay's comprehensive cover for my vans and trucks? Plus, cover for my customers' orders with goods and transit insurance. I guess we'll never know.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. MyWay is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. MyWay. Live your way.
The Checkers Hyper Price Drop is here. Save up to 40% on deals like Nola Mayonnaise 750 grams, any 4 for 149 Rand. Save 51 Rand. Dower Egberts Instant Coffee, 400 grams for 279 Rand. Save 71 Rand. And Twin Saver 2-ply toilet rolls, 24 per pack for 159 Rand. Save 31 Rand. Deals valid until this Sunday, only at Checkers Hyper.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock, I've got your WhatsApps and calls on the issue of apology and artists and people we admire, whether it's politicians, whether it's authors, whether it is actors. How gracious are you to them? Are you a type of person who just cuts off people? Are you a type that is more gracious in your understanding that these people are also human beings, no matter how famous they can be? And this is because of an apology from Kanye West. Yesterday, it was published. In fact, he took up an ad on the Wall Street Journal. It's a 4-page apology for the things that he said towards the Jewish community, towards the black community as well. And there's a conversation ongoing and a debate about whether or not he means it this time, or whether this is just an advertisement for his latest projects, which is coming up soon, because he's going to be dropping a new album soon. And it happens a lot in America. There's a big stunt. Whenever you see a big stunt, just check what's happening around that artist's life. You will be surprised that they're probably planning something and they just wanted a conversation to begin before that project drops. There's something else, though, that is also interesting. So I'll come to your voice notes and calls on that. Something else that's interesting. In fact, the EFF, I saw they released a statement yesterday taking and acknowledging victory for this. Prepaid consumers are going to benefit from ICASA's amendment of the rules on mobile data bundle expiry. I don't know if you followed the story yesterday. So basically from the 23rd of January next year, South Africa's telecommunications companies will be required to allow consumers to roll over unused mobile data bundles. So ICASA has gazetted these new regulations on Friday that will give effect to that. And they provide for at least one rollover on the same terms as the original bundle. So that's what's going to happen going forward. So Catherine Mushi is the councillor at ICASA and chairperson of the Committee on End User Subscriber Charter. And she spoke to Stephen Grootes on The Money Show last night. And she was explaining what has changed and how it will affect consumers and networks.
These rules were actually first introduced in 2018. So what we are actually doing in this 2025 is to tighten the rules because, you know, we've been observing how the 2018 was having an impact, and we then came back again after consultation to revise and amend some of the regulations to tighten them up. To your question, what we are thinking is that the regulations are now empowering the users, the consumers, to rather understand more about what they are purchasing, what the rules are, and giving them the opportunity also to lock in that value. You speak a lot about how much you spend on data and all of that. Although these regulations don't speak to how much you pay for the data, how we interpret its contribution to the cost to communicate is that now there is no longer data that is being lost when it expires. We're giving now the consumers the opportunity to roll it over at least once, and also whilst we're doing that, empowering also the operators to plan better for their network, and that, you know, the rollover is not infinite. So the other thing is that we also are pushing hard for consumers to be aware of their usage, that, you know, the complaint about data disappearing also goes away, especially when we're entering into the smartphones era where apps are probably running in the background and the users are not aware. We then put in the responsibility both on the operator to manage the usage by putting in those rules that we are now introducing, tightening up actually, and also for the consumers to take responsibility on their usage. And in that way, we're saying then at least they lock in the value that they've paid for.
So that was the councillor at ICASA and chairperson of the Committee on End User Subscriber Charter, Catherine Moshi, just explaining what these new regulations, what they mean for you as consumers. And if you've got some thoughts on that, please share them with us on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. What do you make of these amendments to the rules on mobile data bundle expiry? So from January next year, Companies, telecommunications companies will be required to allow you to roll over unused mobile data bundles. How do you feel about that? I've just never understood this concept of the data I have and I'm dictated to on how to spend it and within what period. I've always struggled with that. But here's something that sort of relaxes the rules a little bit. Is it something you welcome? 19 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Hey, Clement, it's a tough topic, and you're really touching us in our studios today because we always sound so progressive, commenting about these artists who are always. Kanye West has been saying a lot of nonsense, lot of nonsense, and you sometimes being shocked. Yet at the end of the day, today when I'm going for a run, I'm going to be listening to Kanye West. I'm going to be listening to R. Kelly. I'm going to be listening to Puff Daddy, even though I know these men are not good. And there's just a lot of evidence in front of us. Some of them are even serving jail time, but we still listen to them. I don't know. I guess the music with memories, the music is just one thing that just give us a relief. So yeah, most of us are not even victims, but we are supporting these men because we listen to their music anyway. Sfiso.
Yeah, Sfiso. And look, I don't judge people who decide to do that. I absolutely don't. I'm one of the people who decided I'm not going to listen to R. Kelly because I don't like I'm uncomfortable with some of the songs I listen to, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, he probably had just raped these women and he wrote the song. So that's my issue, is I'm always worried about that aspect. So I don't know, I'm uncomfortable with that. And for me, I'm all about accountability. Do you take accountability for what you have done? Can be the biggest mistake you've made, but are you realizing what you've done wrong? And if you have, then you're making it easy for me to then say, okay, I choose to forgive this person and still follow them and support them. But some who have not taken full accountability, I'm always like, I'm not sure about that. But having said that, I disagree with this woke culture because it really came out during the peak of woke culture. This expectation that, because that person has done that, anybody who listens to their music then is just, equally complicit. No, let people make their own decisions. Like, why are you trying to dictate your morals to other people? If you think you don't listen to Kanye or R. Kelly anymore, that's your business. That's fine. But don't try dictate to other people. I mean, you can have I have conversations with my friends. We just share thoughts. But we don't dictate to each other that how dare you listen to this person? You are a terrible human being. You don't care for the people that is victimized. No. People have different approaches to things, and I accept that even in this case, there are people who will approach it differently. They must respect my decision just as I will respect theirs.
Hi, Clement. I think whether you take his apology or not, whether the fans will accept his apology or not, or anybody else that he apologized to will take his apology or not, the fact is that anything that Kanye West is going to be doing, he has created enough attention. He has created this attention so that you anticipate, is this, you're now asking questions whether this is a true apology or is a strategic. Now everybody's going to anticipate, what is he gonna do? Was this apology a true apology or was this strategic? Everybody is going to anticipate and wait to make sure that they see what he's doing next. So he has created this attention to ensure that you don't look at anything else, but he ensures that whatever, if he's going to drop out new music, he knows that you're gonna be he's gonna have the attention. You're gonna be waiting for that, and you're gonna want to hear that, is this new music, how is it a bang or not?
Yes, Clement, I will always forgive Kanye. I will always forgive Kanye because I know that he is not a mean guy. You watch podcasts and you're like, that guy is intrinsically mean. He's mean at a cellular level. Kanye is not that. He does mean things. And I take a point to say that he cannot use his mental health as an excuse for some of the mean things that he's said and done. But with everything that he's gone through, from being a child, guys, I forgive him, Shem. And next, he's going to put out an exquisite album, and he's not going to use AI. He's not going to use autotunes. He's going to give us purity of artistry, and I look forward to it. I forgive him. I forgive him.
When you've listened to it, let me know how the album is.
Hi, Clem, and the 702 listeners. The person that I've, written off is Julius Malema. I used to love, his politics, and, what he stands for, especially for a black, young South African child. That has always been outstanding. I loved his mind as well and how he thinks. But what's making me write him off is, the gossip that he engages in sometimes when it comes to other political parties. It's like, dude, come on. Also, his arrogance. He's so arrogant. He's, unable to speak respectfully to, certain issues or about other, people. And that's what I don't like about him.
Morning, Clement. I personally, every Sunday I listen to R. Kelly. Every Sunday. I've forgiven the guy. Yeah, thank you.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
I find sometimes, especially when we're emotionally attached to certain experiences, it feels impossible that there was an alternative explanation for the why.
I think that one is probably the hardest. And when we are in these types of situations, you need to kind of have a self-reflective moment. What are the steps or the contributions that I had made that led to this particular behavioral presentation? And sometimes how it is someone responds to you has got absolutely nothing to do with you. So when you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, I hadn't slighted this person, I didn't treat them in a particular way that warrants any of what is taking place, we have to then let go.
Nomsa Palisa Khadebe, founder and CEO of Neopsych Services.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
From pioneering investments in the telecom sector to getting a foot in the door in the early days of private media, the Mine Workers Investment Company has always been on the lookout for new and innovative companies to advance South Africa as a nation, while building financial security for our country's mine workers and their families. As we end a year of looking back on 3 decades of incredible successes, we look forward to the next 3 decades and beyond. Join us as we celebrate 30 years of MIC.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5, it's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. 702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
All right, 10 minutes before 10 o'clock. There's something you need to be aware of because it's increasingly becoming an issue. So you need to listen quite carefully. And this conversation is brought to you by Capitec. Slam the scam with Capitec. So there are some deposit scams that are becoming increasingly common, especially during peak buying seasons. You've got criminals who pose as legitimate sellers or service providers advertising high demand items or accommodation at tempting prices. And these scammers pressure you as the consumer into buying and paying a deposit for something that doesn't even exist. And then they just disappear. But Capitec is stepping in to help. So today we're joined by Nick Harris, who is the head of financial crime at Capitec, and Jan Rousseau, who is the head of CSI and financial education at Capitec, to chat about how you can stay safe here on 702. Jean and Nick, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, Nick, let's start with you. What is a deposit scam, and why is it a favorite modus operandi for these scammers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely the most popular one that we've seen if we look at our fraud stats, not just in Capitec, but in SA in general. And really what we see it's when criminals advertise fake items or services and convince our clients or victims to pay a deposit to secure these deals. And really, as you mentioned, is that they create this by creating adverts on places like Marketplace and that for very attractive prices. And this is generally high demand. So things like vehicles, vehicle auctions, iPhones, PlayStations, laptops, appliances. We saw a huge spike in December around holiday accommodation. So people booking for seaside front accommodation, Durban, and arriving there, and then unfortunately, the accommodation is actually fake, or somebody else is sitting in the accommodation. Another big favorite is second-hand furniture and household goods like fridges. And you also often see these things are associated with urgent sale below market prices. So it makes it very attractive, right? And what they do is they use actually, stolen photos, so items that have been advertised on Marketplace and that before, and even these community groups. And they just reuse this. And so it looks like a legitimate thing that somebody's actually posted, but they now use this to create a illusion of an advert. And really, it's a favorite modus operandi is that, they ask for deposits. They're just small enough to go like, well, I'm buying a car, cars with 80K, but, a $2,000 deposit's not too bad to secure it. High demand items, like I said. And then, digital platforms really create this instant access to thousands of potential victims. So it's such an easy scam to deploy. And really, it's this low effort, high reward, and often victims feel that embarrassed. So they don't come forward, don't report it, and then these guys just keep on scamming people continuously.
Yeah, sure. So, Jean, why do ordinary consumers still fall for these traps? I mean, even those who never really post anything, but simply just search for good deals.
Yes, I think we must remember that if even careful, digitally savvy consumers get caught because scammers prey on human emotions and human behavior, not technical ignorance. So people typically fall for these scams because of several factors. Firstly, there's the psychological pressure. So scammers would create urgency, like I have other buyers ready to pay today, or scarcity. There's only one listing left for December accommodation. And then there's the fear of missing out, a rare bargain on a car or a smartphone. Then people also trust in their own actions. So consumers trust what they find themselves. Typically, they search for an iPhone 14 secondhand. The listing then appears genuine, or they browsed cars under 80,000 Rand, and scammers target exactly these same filter combinations. Or they look up Plets, Belito, Mshlanga, December accommodation, and the photos look perfect. But what we should remember is that simply searching on platforms like Marketplace expose consumer to scam listings that are deliberately designed to appear in these results. So just because consumers initiated the search, they feel like they're not being targeted. But scammers know that, so they deliberately plant these listings designed to appear in these exact searches. And then I think there's a third factor that's really important is marketplace credibility illusion. So the platform feels safe because everyone is using it. The profiles look real, the people are friendly and active, and some scammers even boost or pay for their fake ads. So therefore, passive searchers are just as vulnerable as people who are actively posting online.
So, Nick, what about, signaling desperation and vulnerability online? Because that opens people up to scams, right? I mean, there's a lot of scenarios where, someone will post on a community group and say, hey, guys, I'm looking for December accommodation. If anything is available, just please send me a WhatsApp. And that's how it often also begins.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and these guys are so good. I mean, they actually infiltrate actively these community groups, WhatsApp groups, or these Facebook pages. Again, so again, just because somebody's on that group doesn't mean they're legitimate. Firstly, I mean, and secondly, when we look at the signaling component, so as Jean pointed out, is that you really you're almost fishing with the right baits, right? And you're signaling to these guys that you're desperate, right? And so words like urgently shows that you're under pressure. You're likely to make a decision quicker rather than doing your homework. You might be ready to pay quickly. I mean, last minute December accommodation signals that you're willing to accept a fast deal. And that's exactly what scammers are willing to exploit, right? And okay, cool, let's get that deposit for you. They know that you'll respond quickly and often within minutes, and you're comfortable to move across platforms. So often they'll move you away from Facebook into, for example, WhatsApp and Telegram.
Yeah.
And really, I think your post broadcast this urgent need and limited options and willingness to assist, and it just signals that you might be an easy target or easy prey for these scammers.
Yeah. So how do we protect ourselves, Jean? How can consumers recognize these potential scams, and what practical steps do we take then to protect ourselves?
So firstly, let's look at the red flags that you need to watch out for. Firstly, prices significantly lower than similar listings. In the case of accommodation, no in-person viewing allowed. And typically excuses like I'm traveling or I've relocated or there are people in the accommodation at the moment, I can't take you there. Pressure tactics is a favorite. I have another 3 buyers ready to pay, you need to pay now, or deposit required immediately into a personal bank account. That's very often also another big trigger and red flag. New or empty profile with little activity, and then these perfectly looking photos, often they're stolen from real listings. And then for accommodation, there's a refusal to do a live video walk through the property. And these are all very, very real red flags. So in terms of how you then can apply practical steps to protect yourself, firstly, never ever pay a deposit before physically seeing these high value goods. For accommodation, ask for a live video tour where the host walks through the property and can show their face, so you know that they're in the property. Then you've used reverse image search. This is actually a really good one where you can see where else online are these images actually, do they appear, so that you know this is a stolen image. Don't publicly post your phone number or signal desperation, but also don't assume you're safe just because you didn't post. And then on Marketplace, vet the seller's profile. So the age of the account, posts, reviews, consistency of posts. And then I think the last one, really trust your instinct. If it feels too good, if it feels rushed, too convenient, slow down, stop, don't go ahead. So I think the key rule of thumb, though, to leave you with is if you haven't seen it, don't pay for it.
Sure. Thank you so much for those tips. Yeah, Nick and Jean, really, really appreciate it. Nick Harris is the head of financial crime at Capitec, and Jean Rousseau, the head of CSI and financial education at Capitec.
There's a new way to experience all your favorites. Pulse Africa, the 24/7 fast channel, now live on PrimeMediaPlus.com and the Prime Media Plus app, bringing you the best of Prime Media around the clock. Watch the biggest moments from 7:02. It's non-stop entertainment and authentic African storytelling, all from Africa's leading media network. Pulse Africa, only on the PrimeMediaPlus.com and Prime Media Plus app.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Hollywood Bats. Their spokesperson, Pumelelo Lembede, will be in conversation with Bongani Bima. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
So let me get this straight. You found a tertiary institution.
Yep, Emirates.
That offers a high-performance education.
Yes.
And uses real-world case studies in its course material.
Uh-huh.
Lets you develop your own ideas on how to solve real-world problems.
Yeah, well, yes.
All so you can make your mark in the working world from day one.
Indeed.
But you haven't registered yet?
Yes. No.
Unbelievable. Register at emrys.ac.za.
Okay, I'm doing it.
Emrys is an educational brand of the Independent Institute of Education.
You wouldn't pay for a large cappuccino and walk away with a tiny cup. So why pay for car insurance that gives you less? Rather switch to Outsurance, like 40-year-old Rafiq, who saves 899 Rand a month on his 2017 Nissan Navara 4x4.
889. That's not small change. That's more than 50% that I saved from my previous insurer.
How much could Outsurance save you? SMS cover to 30995. That's cover to 30995. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. KZN Hawks boss Leseja Sinona has taken the stand before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria this morning. Sinona and his son Tato have been linked to criminally accused tender tycoon Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. The commission previously heard that Tato Sinona had business interests with Matlala and that the pair had a potential property deal in place. Last year, Crime Intelligence Head Dumsani Kumalo presented evidence showing WhatsApp exchanges between Matlala and Sinona. Matlala allegedly requested FICA documents from Sinona for his son Tato. We shift our focus to this now. The Gauteng government is expected to unveil the province's intervention plan to tackle the foot and mouth disease outbreak. The measures come as livestock continues to be affected across several parts of the province. Gauteng MEC for Agriculture, Vuyiswa Ramaphosa, will lead today's announcement together with Premier Bangaza Lesufi. Ramaphosa is expected to outline control measures to contain the spread of the highly contagious disease amongst livestock. Dimakatso Leshoro has more.
Foot and mouth disease affects cloven-hoofed animals such as cattle and sheep. It is primarily spread through movement of infected animals. South Africa has struggled to contain the nationwide outbreak. Several municipalities in Gauteng have recorded cases, prompting the implementation of movement restrictions, enhanced biosecurity measures and targeted vaccination campaigns. However, with limited availability and additional doses to be procured only in the coming weeks, efforts to bring the outbreak under control have proven challenging. As a result, red meat prices remain elevated despite the slowdown in headline inflation. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
A former student activist charged with inciting the July 2021 unrest has testified that the anarchy was well planned and says those behind it should be held accountable. Bongosi Kanyile returned to the Durban High Court yesterday, charged with incitement to commit public violence and contravening the Disaster Management Act linked to the 2021 sporadic looting and damage to infrastructure. The accused allegedly flouted COVID-19 regulations and addressed crowds, rallying support for former President Jacob Zuma, who was jailed for contempt of court at the time. Kanyile also told the court the riots were clearly planned by other people.
I still hold a firm belief that there were people who were behind the coordinated effort who still has to face the music in this country.
He also testified that he would not have made public calls for people to break the law.
If I'm committing a crime, how do you go? You're committing a crime. You go publicly, you say, ban the malls, ban now, I'm instructing you. You can't do that, especially at my level of IQ.
As pressure mounts over Knysna's deepening water crisis, attention is also turning to leadership at that municipality. Knysna's executive mayor Thando Matika is facing calls to resign but says changing mayors will not fix long-standing infrastructure failures. Kayleen Morgan reports.
Amid mounting pressure over Knysna's deepening water crisis, executive mayor Thando Matika is facing calls to step down. Speaking to Eyewitness News, Matika says constant changes in leadership and political point scoring will not deliver long-term solutions for residents. He says he has only been in office for 11 months and that the town's infrastructure challenges span many years.
Even myself, if I was opposition, I'll use that opportunity and say that heads must roll. I've been here, it's only 11 months. There are a lot of infrastructure challenges that we have to fix. You'll change mayor after mayor after mayor. Unless you start changing your infrastructure,
Matika says if municipalities continue to focus on political battles instead of fixing aging infrastructure, residents will never see lasting improvements. He maintains that efforts are now underway to stabilize water supply and repair key infrastructure. Kayleen Morgan, Eyewitness News, Knysna.
And in the U.S., at least 20 states and the capital, Washington, remain under states of emergency as extremely cold temperatures persist. Parts of the U.S. have been hit by a major snowstorm, which has left at least 20 people dead. Authorities are on high alert and stand ready to deploy emergency personnel as well as resources where needed. The storm has caused thousands of flights to be cancelled and delayed. Several areas are still also without power after falling trees knocked down electricity infrastructure. Gold is trading at $5,080, 3 cents an ounce. The rand is at 16.02 to the dollar, 21.92 to the pound, 19.04 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $65.88 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got an accident in Bramley along the M1 South, right near Corlett Drive. It is causing delays coming out of Greyston Drive. There's also an accident seen in the city of Tshwane. This one is along the N1 North. It happened right near Linwood Road. It is causing delays at this particular moment. A stop-and-go situation. This is between Botha Avenue and Linwood Road.
A partly cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng with afternoon showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures will peak at highs of between 32 and 33 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. KZN Hawks boss Leseja Sinona has taken the stand before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. Remember, at 10:30 we're going to have a conversation with the Mine Workers Investment Company as they celebrate 30 years of the MIC. And then at 11 o'clock, we're going to talk on our World of Work feature about South Africa's most in-demand jobs for 2026. If you're wondering which jobs actually are in demand this year, you want to listen to that conversation because, finding a job in this country in these days isn't just about having a CV. It's about navigating a job market that's becoming more crowded, right? It's becoming more and more competitive. And for many people, it's just getting more confusing. So people often want to plan ahead to know, what kind of careers are actually more in demand, what kind of skills are needed in the labor market. So we've got someone who's going to guide us through that conversation at 11 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
But right now, we start a conversation about the testimony of Witness E at the Madlanga Commission because it was quite important. And the reason it was important was not only because Witness E accused Senzo Mchunu, who is the police minister on special leave, of basically trying to get him to lie before the commission and say or make a statement that is more favorable towards the minister. But it was interesting because it really speaks about the murder of Sindiso Makaka, right? And what appears to be the influence of crime intelligence in that. So Witness E made it very clear yesterday that he has in the past warned that there are some crime intelligence officers that were involved in the killing of Sindiso Makaka. He also said that he had warned those in authority, I think about 2 weeks or so before Sindiso Magwenya was murdered, and obviously those warnings were not heeded. And what I'm going to do now is, before we speak to Thabiso Zulu, who is a whistleblower, who is in fact a friend of Sindiso Magwenya, he himself is a whistleblower and speaks on behalf of the Magwenya family on all matters related to the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee. Before we speak to him, I want to play you a voice note of Clement Manyathela, who's a legal journalist with News 24. He was listening attentively yesterday to the testimony of Witness E. So she's going to explain to us, just so that we sort of frame our conversation before we speak to Thabiso. She's going to explain to you why this Witness E is, as we speak, in witness protection. And he's been there since, my understanding is 2019. She's also going to explain what he has said in the past, Witness E, what he has spoken about in as far as the involvement of crime intelligence officers in the murder of Sindiso Magwenya is confirmed. So let's start with Clement Manyathela, and then I'm going to bring in Thabiso Zulu in a moment.
Witness E is in the witness protection program because he blew the whistle on the alleged involvement of high-ranking crime intelligence officers in the murder of ANC Youth League Secretary General Sindiso Magwenya in 2017. He has told the Madlanga Commission that he was made aware through his work as an undercover police officer that the murder was going to happen 2 weeks before it occurred, because he had infiltrated a cash in transit ring and actually recruited one of the gang's leaders as an informant for crime intelligence. On the evidence that he gave to the commission, this informant was given access to an AK-47 and a vehicle that was ultimately used in the murder of Magwenya. He said he had 2 weeks in order to raise alarm about the pending murder, and he had urged his commanders or his superiors to essentially take back the gun and the vehicle from this informant to prevent the murder. He said that warning fell on deaf ears, and as a consequence, he is now a witness in the criminal investigation into Magwenya's murder. We know, of course, that one of those implicated in that murder has now turned state witness in July 2025, last year, just I think 2 days or a day after Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, of course, gave that explosive press conference about alleged criminal infiltration of South African law enforcement. So the Magwenya story is very linked to the Mkhwanazi story. And of course, it raises a number of questions about the alleged involvement of crime intelligence officers in a very high-profile murder.
All right, so that is Clement Manyathela just giving us context and laying the foundation for this conversation now with Thabiso Zulu, who is a whistleblower, joining us on the line. Thabiso, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and to your listeners, and how are you?
Sharp. Were you surprised at all with what Witness E had to say to the Madlanga Commission yesterday? I mean, he seems to more or less be aligned with what we have known, that there's always been a plot to take Sindiso Magwenya out.
No, we were not surprised, and it was not a revelation for us. It was not a revelation for me and the family. Yesterday, we reflected on the matter after Witness E had spoken, and we are not gullible. We are not having a short-term excitement around his testimony, and we are not suffering from any naivety around it. We've always known that the crime intelligence was involved. We've always known that the police were involved. We've always known that senior politicians were involved. Remember the fact that even among the accused who are currently in the dock, there are two former policemen, specialized unit of TRT. One of them is a state issue now because he's in the place of people that are mentally challenged. Then the other one is still before the dock. So we've always known that we've said this publicly before, Siniso Makaka was not only killed by political gangsters and assassins, but he was killed by the state.
So, are you hopeful? I mean, and is the family as well, the Makaka family, hopeful that we will get to that point where there are senior officers that are not just the officers, but politicians who are held responsible here? Because it's almost like there is, as you say, it's not a surprise. There's an alignment over people who knew that there was a plot, and there are some really important senior people who were involved. In this case now, how hopeful are you that whoever, said we need to get this guy out is going to be held accountable, so that it's not just the officers and the people who pulled the trigger, but also if there are politicians who are involved, they are also held accountable?
We are aware, or I am aware from the political circles that one of the people, remember that the people that are implicated are former apartheid killing machines. They were brought before the TRC for having killed revolutionaries and the people that were fighting for our own liberation, especially in Swaziland. Then they were given amnesty. Then they went back to the police. They continued. So they are killing machines. They've been killing revolutionaries before. I am aware that one of them, the true circles, that he is saying if he gets charged, he is not going to go down alone. He was going to go down with a lot of politicians, because this was not the first killing. He has been involved in a lot of other things that he has done for politicians. That's why politicians and senior people are making it very hard to arrest these people. The state has been sitting in the affidavit of witness E for the last 8 years. They've never arrested these police, right? I know witness E by name, which I'm not going to reveal. We have had his affidavit for some time. So the state has been having his affidavit for some time. So what that says, the state is not willing to arrest him.
Sure.
I mean, it's not willing to arrest them, because it's not only one. There are two that are being named, but I know that there is a third one, who is the one who signed for the AK-47 in the car.
And that person, in your knowledge, is someone in crime intelligence?
Is someone in crime intelligence. He's senior. He's acting in a certain province. He's the acting head of crime intelligence in a certain province. He's the one who signed for the AK-47. He's the man who refused that crime intelligence must do a threat assessment on me when I appeared on the Moerane Commission. The other person who is involved within crime intelligence, who was a captain at the time, whom witness is referring to, is working in the same office with a crime intelligence officer by the name of Musa Mula, who have been making sure that I don't get joy in life. He has been opening cases against me. I will be arrested, and NPA will decline to prosecute. I will be rounded up at night. I will be beaten up in front of my family. My mother will be insulted with a P or an F word. It's there. It's in the recordings. It's there in a video. It's known. And what is the most disappointing thing, which is a serious indictment against this country and its government, is that we are having a situation where the NPA under Advocate Shamila Batoy, the Hawks under former retired General Libeya, I've been pleading with them for more than 8 years. Investigate Mzimkhulu Memorial Hall, because that is what Sindiso died for. It doesn't serve any purpose to keep on saying you are fighting against corruption, but you can't investigate that hall of shame which caused a loss of so many lives. Tutuzi Shibas, Sindiso Makaka, Jabumsia was shot but she survived. Mtsigi was shot and she survived. Former Speaker Kaya Tobela was shot and killed. All that happened because of Mzimkhulu Memorial Hall of Shame. I have lived a life like a vagrant all these years, just because I've been fighting for justice. But this is the last one for completeness sake. You are having a situation where I wrote a letter to Advocate Shamila Batoy in year 2020. It was in February. You know when she responded to me? In 2025. 5 years down the line, she never responded to all my letters. She only said after 5 years, we are doing something about it.
Which makes it interesting, Thabiso, because anybody who, in fact, Googles your name will see that you've been talking about this for many years. And now what's interesting is that you also have politicians who now want to be seen like they've always been interested in justice. I mean, I wonder what you think when you hear of, one, what you've just said now, when you've got these senior prosecutors, the head of the NPA that you wrote to and took so long to respond to you, or you hear of the story of how someone like Senzo Mchunu was also trying to get a hold of Witness E to understand what he has said before. I mean, all of this information they've had before, but it's almost like when it happens now, they want to be seen like, oh, we've actually done something about it, when they haven't moved at all.
Look, the Sindisi Magagla family have been failed by everyone and anyone who had to act. We said this thing. I spoke in the memorial service. I mentioned the crime intelligence. I had no bodyguards or armed people behind me. I took an opportunity to say, let whatever is going to happen, but I'm going to tell the whole world. I told the whole world. My story and the story of Sindisi Magagla have always been linked right after I was killed. And we are having a situation where people wanted to use this for their own benefit. But I'm not interested in the palace politics of the Senzo Mchunus and the armed generals. I'm not in any of their camps. I'm in the camp of Sindisi Magagla. That's all that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in all the periphery, the issues. I'm interested in Sindisi Magagla's family getting justice. His mother is frail. We had a long meeting yesterday. We reflected on a lot of things. We feel very disappointed on a lot of things. And we don't think that the president who always talks about corruption, he's walking the talk. Here is a situation where his armed forces, his law enforcement agencies are involved in carrying out a state-sponsored killing of someone who was exposing corruption. They've not been arrested for the past 8 years. What do you call that?
Thabiso Zulu, thank you so much for making time for us. And I mean, your frustration is absolutely understandable. I remember I started speaking to Thabiso Zulu back, when was it? Probably was it just around COVID time? But this is someone who has spoken for, in fact, in 2018. Yeah. Right? 2018 already. And that just tells you that it's that long. And probably even more than that he's been saying the same things that we are now hearing now. And there are politicians who are going to act surprised. Thabiso Zulu is Sindisi Magagla's friend and whistleblower, speaks on behalf of the Magagla family. It's 24 now after 10.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
All right, let's quickly find out what this testimony from Witness E means for the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, who's on special leave. Dr. Chris de Kock is an independent crime violence analyst and former police officer. Thanks for making time for us. Dr. de Kock, good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and to the listeners.
Let's start with what Witness E said, somehow suggesting that this Minister of Police who's on special leave, Senzo Mchunu, kept on calling him, wanting to somehow coerce or get him to lie before the Madlanga Commission. Could that come back to haunt Senzo Mchunu?
Oh, yeah. First, I want to say, look, everything which is said for the last 3.5 months is allegations, where it still have to be proven in court. But I think if we listen to, and I listened to the whole testimony of Witness E, I think it's quite damning to the minister, and it will definitely haunt him somewhere in the future. And I think even the commission may decide to call him back, because clearly this is a very serious. This is actually tampering with the witness and with evidence. And I think it's quite serious. I really think it's very serious. And not only Witness E, even what the Major General said yesterday, because even there, it is clear that the minister is using his position, or was using his position, to try and influence political issues.
And where do you draw the line there? Because some ministers will argue that, well, I came into the office and let's use the Cindy Somakakra case, for instance, as an example. A minister could argue that there hasn't been movement on this case, and that's why I took an initiative to approach either the KZN commissioner or the deputy commissioner to find out what's going on and to be updated on this case. But then someone else could also argue, well, you can get that information from the National Police Commissioner. So what I'm asking is, where do you draw the line so that the ministers themselves, who are the political overseers and not really involved in operational matters, can't just justify their involvement by saying, oh, but I wanted updates because I wanted these cases to move?
No, if the minister wants updates on anything, operations, cases, investigation of cases, everything, he has to work through the National Commissioner. Actually, he will inquire from the National Commissioner. That is how it was when I was there in the police. He will send a request to the National Commissioner. The National Commissioner will then contact the relevant officers and work through the system. I mean, through the different heads and so on, down to the specific investigator or the specific intelligence operator, and get the information from there. Can't work any other way. A minister can't just phone, and I mean, the question is still, where did he get this guy? And this Witness E is in witness protection for the last also 8 years. Now, where did he get his number? That is strange. And even he gave some evidence that his number, because of his undercover situation, changed very regularly.
Yeah. Are we ever going to get have stability in the SAPS, Dr. de Kock? I mean, my goodness. Are we ever going to have a minister who gets along and has the support of the national commissioner, and the provincial commissioners get along, and you don't have a crime intelligence head who's fighting with the national commissioner, or a provincial head who's got issues with that commissioner, or the minister, or vice versa? Are we ever, and what do you think is going to take for us to have a functional SAPS that only focuses on protecting South Africans, which must be their primary focus, and not involved in just these catfights?
Well, this is going to be a very difficult and long process. I think we can go there. First, you have to defactionalize. You have to take politics out of the police. Since the police became politicized, and you have different factions, and it all started basically in crime intelligence. It started in crime intelligence in the late, just around the World Cup, just before the World Cup. It started this politicization of and the factionalism of crime intelligence, and that then went through the whole of the police. And I think you have to get rid of those political factions, get a neutral police service, and professional police officers, professional heads, professional provincial commissioners. Then we can go there, and that will make a massive influence on crime.
Yeah.
If I can just say this, and I've said it before, I think, to you specifically, in the years 2003 to up to the World Cup, we had tremendous success against most crimes, but especially against murder, which is, one of the most stable crime tendencies, or the most trustworthy crime tendencies. And we had that success because there was unity in the police service. There were lots of unity, lots of professionalism in the police service, and in crime intelligence specifically. And that is how we got crime trends down in those years.
And look at where we are now. Let's hope those days of old will be back where there's unity in the force, in the service. Dr. Chris de Kock, thank you so much for making time for us. It's 10:30. Bali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The Gauteng Agriculture Department has allocated 16 million rand to address the foot and mouth outbreak in the province. Agriculture MEC Vuyiswa Ramaphosa says 286,000 doses of vaccines have also been administered to animals in Gauteng. An order of around 90,000 vaccines is also expected to come from Botswana. 5 people have been arrested in connection with fraud and money laundering during a joint operation by the Hawks in the Western Cape as well as the Eastern Cape. The arrest took place early this morning at multiple homes. The suspects allegedly laundered 12 million rand in intercompany transactions. While U.S. President Donald Trump has sent his top border enforcer to Minneapolis as nationwide outrage continues over the second killing of a U.S. citizen protesting immigration raids this month. The White House has been scrambling as video of the latest shooting went viral. That video prompted street protests and criticism from former presidents Bill Clinton as well as Barack Obama. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling on the M1 South, we've got an accident in Bramley. It's right near Corlett Drive. Delays from the Grayston Drive off-ramp. This is if you are leaving Sandton at this particular moment. You might want to drive within the inner city roads like Rivonia Road as well as Sandton Drive to just try and avoid that scene. If you are traveling towards the Kempton Park area via Modderfontein Road, do expect delays approaching the N3 exit due to roadworks that are taking place along this route. And there's also slow-moving traffic on the N3 North. This is just as you approach the Glulies interchange out of Van Buren Road while heading towards Bedford View. More delays on the R24 West. This is between Edenville Road and the Glulies interchange. I'll have more updates for you at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
There are conversations that we don't allow us to have for the good of our own country because we are stuck in this tribe mentality, in this binary logic that doesn't want to be honest about some of the conversations that we need to have. The whole thing about the murders in the farms is a conversation that we haven't had properly in this country. We throw certain accusations, but we don't ask the critical questions. Who is doing the killing? Who exactly is killing our farmers?
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
You may not know this, but that genius, Albert Einstein, he never wore socks. Which proves that even the smartest people aren't always smart. But you can shop like an absolute genius at DecoFern Furniture with unbeatable deals on office chairs, desks, and much more. Plus up to 50% off end-of-range items. Work smarter, study smarter, and definitely shop smarter at DecoFern Furniture right now, in-store or at decofernsa.co.za.
This message is brought to you by Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Are you running a business? Every rand counts. Save electricity and cut costs by switching off lights, computers, and aircons after hours. Use energy-efficient lighting and equipment and make saving electricity part of your daily routine. Smart energy habits mean lower bills and greener business future. Let's power success efficiently.
Let's use electricity wisely. Eskom.
At Premier Hotels and Resorts, business travelers staying alone enjoy a complimentary drink every night of their stay. So, whatever your tipple, it's on the house at any of our 24 hotels and resorts nationwide. Book today at premierhotels.co.za.
At Checkers, 2026 is better with over 1,500 deals. Like Lancewood Cheddar or Gouda cheese, 900 grams for $129.99 each. Save 40 Rand. Jacob's Cream or Gold Instant Coffee, 200 or 230 grams for $159.99 each. Save 50 Rand. And Ariel Liquid Detergent 2 litre or capsules, 14 or 30 per pack. Buy any 3 and get the cheapest free. Valid until Sunday at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
What I'm trying to get a sense of is if we were to take Master Drive and other people who work in related fields who offer similar services, what kind of national capacity do we have in this regard?
They get given the opportunity to go away anything from 4 to 6 weeks. They would be given a dashboard to go and work on. That's what we really want to demonstrate. Competency in not just attendance. But we've got to start somewhere, John.
Right.
We have to start somewhere. The ones that need it are the ones that are out in the sticks and things like that.
Eugene Herbert, CEO of Master Drive.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
The Clement Manyathela Show, in conversation with the Mine Workers Investment Company, celebrating 30 years of the MIC on 702.
It's 24 minutes before 11 o'clock. We are in conversation this morning with the Mine Workers Investment Company as they celebrate 30 years of the MIC. So this year basically marks a major milestone for the Mine Workers Investment Company. 30 years of purpose-led investment, transformation and impact. I mean, from empowering mine workers and their families to building long-term value across multiple sectors of the economy. It's really grown into one of South Africa's most influential black-owned investment companies. So to reflect on some of the milestones, the partnerships and the road ahead, we're joined by Cynthia Pongweni, who's the acting chief executive officer at the Mine Workers Investment Company. Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to your listeners.
I always, when we celebrate these big milestones, want to go back a few steps, right, before we even look at what it's achieved. I mean, when you look at the MIC, it was born out of a union-led vision through the Mine Workers Investment Trust. Why was it important at the time for mine workers to move beyond wages and create an investment company?
So, Clement, I think at the time in 1995 when we were formed, the Mine Workers Investment Company was formed really out of a vision of the then National Executive Council of the NUM. And as you say, at the time, the realization was that the National Union of Mine Workers is not just about wages. It's not just about better living conditions. But mine workers are individuals that have hopes, that have dreams, that would like their children to have a better life than they have. It's about restoring dignity and really about bringing hope and a future for their children as well as their dependents. And it is on that basis that the NUM set up the Mine Workers Investment Company as well as the trust in 1995 with seed capital of 3 million rand.
Sure. And I mean, now it's become, one of the first 100% black-owned investment companies in the country. What have been some of the major milestones and achievements in the MIC's past 3 decades?
So it's very difficult to narrow them in such a short space of time. But I think maybe just starting with the 3 million rand seed capital, we have been able to grow that 3 million rand seed capital to 8 billion as of 2025, with a target of growing it to 10 billion by February 2027. So that for us is a key milestone that we have achieved and are looking to track as regards the 2027 target that we've set for ourselves. I think in that time, we have paid the single largest dividend paid by a union investment company to its shareholder, which was the 245 million rand dividend paid to the trust in 2008. And over that period, Clement, since 1995, we have paid more than 950 million rand in dividend to the trust, so that the trust is able to fund the various projects that it runs through its implementing agencies. And for me, I think the true highlight is really the number of lives that we've touched through the various implementing agencies. So as an example, through the JB Marks Education Fund, we have more than 2,200 graduates that have gone through the program and graduated across various fields of study. As we speak, JB Marks has approximately 700 students at any point in time in their system, with 250 burses granted every year. And that really is significant for us because, as you know, education breaks the cycle of poverty, not just for the individuals, but for their families as well as their communities. We've also touched lives through the Mine Workers Development Agency, which does social upliftment projects for communities that mine workers come from. So predominantly your labor sending areas of South Africa and our neighboring countries. And they have touched more than 1 million lives through social upliftment programs, agricultural programs, food security programs, and SMME programs. And maybe finally, just to touch on another implementing agency, the Elijah Bahai Memorial Training Center. They run approximately 6,000 accredited courses every year, which are aimed at improving the lives of existing mine workers.
Sure. It's fascinating. In fact, I remember there was a time when at a bursary orientation, when one woman said, I am here because my father went underground so I wouldn't have to. And just seeing just the success and them having these great opportunities again speaks, and it's testament to the achievements you speak of. So the MIC is often described as an active equity partner, not just a passive investor. What role has it played as an active equity partner with its investees?
So, Clement, we tend to take stakes in our investee companies that provide us with influence and an ability to make a difference in terms of our investee companies. So, because of the stakes that we take, we do serve on the boards of all investee companies that we own, regardless of the percentage that we hold. And that allows us to work together with our investment partners as well as the management teams to formulate and drive strategy, to ensure that we build businesses that are built to last, businesses that are sustainable. We assist our investee companies with growth initiatives in instances where, for example, they need to reassess their business models or pivot into different areas. We assist them with business development initiatives, with placement of individuals where they look to us in certain instances to help them fill key positions. And I think one other thing that we are very passionate about, Clement, is transformation. So MIC is a champion of transformation, and we drive transformation in partnership with our investee company management teams to ensure that all aspects of the scorecard are met, not just for compliance purposes, but to ensure that our companies are representative of the demographics of South Africa and are providing growth, stability, and transformation in all aspects of their businesses.
Yeah. When you look at your portfolio, what would you say have been some of the most successful investee relationships, and what has made those partnerships actually work? I mean, there's a lot. I know it's difficult because there's a lot.
Yes.
But just let's use some as an example, because I'm trying to figure out, how do you make the partnerships work so well for you so that not only are you able to make an impact through transformation, for instance, but you also actually get the benefit, like there's a return on investment?
100%. So I think the first thing is looking at the types of companies we invest in and what criteria they present. So we generally look at companies that have business models that are sustainable, companies that are have business models that are able to sustain whether it's changes in technology, business models that can sustain themselves during difficult economic times, business models that are cash generative, because as I indicated, we do need to make sure we're able to honor our own commitment to pay a dividend up to the trust. Then beyond that, Clement, I think the secret sauce is also in the management teams that we back. As MIC, we are not operators. We work closely with management teams. So we back management teams that are innovative, management teams that have experience and that are able to withstand whatever challenges that are faced on a day-to-day basis by their companies, but also take advantage of key trends and key growth initiatives. Another key ingredient to how we work, Clement, is in terms of the partnerships that we have with our fellow investee companies. So we believe that working together with other investment holding companies that are like-minded, that are aligned in terms of purpose and in terms of vision, helps us to put together our various skill sets and our various experiences to ensure that ultimately the companies we're co-invested in are successful.
Yeah, it's going up to 14 minutes before 11 o'clock. After the break, we'll continue this conversation with Cynthia Pongweni, who's the acting Chief Executive Officer at the Mine Workers Investment Company, as we celebrate 30 years of the MIC. Stay with us.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Enjoy the thrill of the Soccer Punters Challenge Weekend Edition, an all-new platform from Hollywood Bets. You stand a chance to win a share of the 5 million rand jackpot when you bet 5 rand or more on selected EPL matches over the weekend and correctly predict 10 out of 10 winning margins. Or chase the share of the 50,000 rand leaderboard prize. Entry is free. Let this soccer season bring sizzling success. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
At Isuzu, we know every delivery, every kilometer, and every load is building something bigger. This truck month, set your business up for success with special deals across the Isuzu N and F-Series ranges. Don't get left behind. Speak to your Isuzu truck specialist or call 08600 Isuzu and secure your truck month deal today. Isuzu, with you for the long run. T's and C's apply.
702, in conversation with the Mine Workers Investment Company, celebrating 30 years of the MIC on 702.
Yeah, it's 30 years of purpose-led investment, transformation, and impact, as you've heard from Cynthia Pongweni. And yeah, as we continue our conversation, Cynthia, you have been speaking a lot about impact investing because that's quite central to your philosophy at the MIC. What tangible effects of social impact by the MIC have you seen over the past, say, 3 decades?
Yes, so Clement, beyond the social impact that we have demonstrated in terms of the various implementing agencies that the Mine Workers Investment Company works through, we make sure that our underlying investing companies drive social impact, particularly in terms of the communities that they work in and also the entities that they work with in their value chains. So if, for example, you look at some of our entities, we are very clear on the contribution they need to make in terms of social economic development to make sure that suppliers in their value chain are empowered and do have access to economic opportunities. Maybe bring it closer to home from an MIC perspective. We launched our impact investment strategy in 2021. And as part of that impact investment strategy, we focused on 4 pillars, which are digital inclusion, financial inclusion, education, as well as healthcare. If I just focus on financial inclusion, we launched Kholisani Ventures, which was aimed at providing capital, equity capital, to black businesses that owned black founders, that have businesses that are scalable, that are tech-enabled, but that were unable to grow further because they could not access funding from the traditional funders, simply because a traditional funder is going to ask you for a track record. So through this, we have funded a number of black businesses, which include the likes of Curo Health, Rentosa, and through that as well, we've also funded businesses such as Too Much Wi-Fi, which is a business that provides accessible Wi-Fi to townships and previously disadvantaged areas, particularly in the Cape, but moving up to Greater Gauteng. We have also seen that our contribution has not just been capital in those particular businesses, but it's helping them grow in terms of ensuring that they've got governance structures that sustain them through their growth phases, making sure that they've got route to market, to make sure that their products are able to reach the consumer. So through our impact investment strategy, Clement, we have seen growth really in those businesses, and the multiplier effect when you look at the employees that they employ, the families that are represented, the customers that they touch, the lives they touch broadly, and the ability for them to bring products such as healthcare, such as insurance, such as digital connectivity to environments where previously those environments could not access such products.
Yeah. We were talking earlier on about just the bursary system.
Yes.
And I'd like you to share some of those details with the listeners. So normally, how many learners do you have and who actually qualifies? Is it just the children of the mine workers or, some of their dependents as well?
So for you to qualify for a JB Marks bursary, you need to have a bachelor's pass and you need to be a dependent of a mine worker. As you know, in our African culture, we don't just look after our children, we look after our dependents and the broader community. So as long as you are a dependent and have a bachelor pass, you then qualify for a bursary. I think, Clement, it's important to highlight that you do not have to pay back what you are given as a bursary, and you do not have to work for the Mine Workers Investment Company, the NUM, or the trust once you have completed your studies. It really is just an intervention to assist children and dependents of mine workers to access education so that they're able to have better opportunities going forward. In terms of the number of bursaries, in any given year, they currently award approximately 200 to 250 bursaries, depending on each year. And at any point in time, you have approximately 700 students in the system. And this ranges from first year all the way through to postgraduate studies.
Yeah. So you don't reach, of course, this milestone and have such a return on investments without some tough lessons along the way. So what would you say have been the toughest lessons the MIC has learned over the past 30 years?
So I think if you look back and if you think about investments as a sector, it does come with its inherent challenges that you can't fully ever mitigate. I think some of the tough lessons that we've learned were, if I look back to the 1998 crisis and as well as the global financial crisis, I think we learned some very important lessons around being prudent when it comes to the debt levels that we have in our businesses, because the economy can change very quickly, and with that change, you might find that the debt levels in your entities become unsustainable, notwithstanding the fact that your underlying businesses might still be really great businesses. So I think that's a very key lesson, which has really spoken to our prudent approach to how we invest and how much debt we take on in our businesses. I think another very key lesson that we learned was the importance of diversification. So we have always tried to maintain a diverse portfolio, because when you go through those difficult periods, not all sectors are going to be under pressure. And what you'll find is that as long as you're diversified, you might have media under pressure, but your digital sectors, your connectivity sectors are doing well, or infrastructure is doing well, or energy is doing well. So there's a very big lesson that we've learned around diversification and how diversification sees you through difficult cycles. I think a third lesson that it is who we are, but I suppose it is a vindication that comes out of some of the difficult times that we've had, is the fact that we're a long-term shareholder allows us to, go through those cycles, not panic when we do encounter speed bumps, because we know that our long-term tenure allows us, as long as you've got a business that is fundamentally solid, allows us to work through the difficult times and come out of the end of those difficult times even more resilient than when we went in.
Those are actually important lessons for any investor, right? What do you look forward to in the next 30 years, in the next 10 years as the MIC? What are you looking into?
So I think as we look forward to the next 5, 10, 30 years, there is an element of sticking to our knitting that comes through, simply because the need for MIC to remain a sustainable business that is able to fund the Mine Workers Investment Trust still remains. So we need to make sure that we continue to diversify our portfolio, we continue to grow our businesses so that we're able to pay a dividend up to the trust every year. But in doing that, Clement, we are obviously a lot more ambitious than we have been in the past. And our ambition includes, investing in sectors that we have not had exposure to before, or themes that present themselves currently that present good investment opportunities. So as an example, we currently are not invested in education, specifically EdTech. The broader healthcare space is one that we don't have exposure to. In terms of key themes that we're pursuing, themes around e-commerce, which came alive post-COVID, themes around financial inclusion, as well as fintechs are themes that we're also pursuing. Infrastructure, in particular digital infrastructure, is a space that we are very interested in. And I think from taking bolder moves, we are also looking at diversifying beyond South Africa, because we do recognize the fact that there are opportunities beyond South Africa. And as we turn 30 and as we graduate to the next level of growth, we do need to take calculated risks beyond South Africa, but obviously with the right partners and in the right territories to make sure that such diversification does not disadvantage us in terms of the sustainability of our portfolio.
What territories are you looking at? Is it mostly the African continent where you're mostly looking to focus on?
So we will look at the African continent and beyond. I think what will drive the specific territories we will look at is really around issues such as are they English speaking, manner of doing business, the legal structure in those entities, but most importantly, investment partners that we can work with in those territories, because we are a small organization, relatively speaking. We do not have the capacity to go it alone. So those factors are what will determine the specific territories that we will look at as we look beyond the South African borders.
Well, Cynthia Pongweni, congratulations on your 30 years and all the best with the next 5, 10, 30 years.
Thank you very much, Clement, and thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you so much. Cynthia Pongweni is the acting chief executive officer at the Mine Workers Investment Company. For 3 decades, the Mine Workers Investment Company has worked on behalf of South African mine workers and their families through investments across a diverse range of economic sectors. It's been the guiding force behind some of the country's most impressive investment success stories. But it's not all about making profits. The MIC has championed transformation and inclusive economic policies, advancing not just this generation, but the next as well. Visit mic.co.za to learn more. Celebrating 30 years of the MIC.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS LEGAL to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Life keeps getting busier. Parenting, shopping, working, exercising, just surviving. With all of that, who has time for anything else? That's why Netcare introduces Netcare Appointmed. Just tell us what you need, a specialist, GP or dentist, and we'll search our nationwide network of 5,000 doctors and find an appointment with a doctor who best suits your needs and medical aid. That's Netcare Appointmed on the Netcare app.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
Coming up after the news at 11 o'clock, it's our World of Work feature, and today we'll be discussing South Africa's most in-demand jobs for 2026. And this Eyewitness News is brought to you by Momentum. Financial advisors help you have a better shot at generational wealth. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. 5 people have been arrested in connection with fraud and money laundering during a joint operation by the Hawks in the Western Cape as well as the Eastern Cape. The arrests took place early this morning at multiple homes. The suspects allegedly laundered 12 million rand in inter-company transactions. Camry Clark reports.
The Hawks say the arrests began at around 4 o'clock this morning following an investigation into alleged fraudulent intercompany transactions. One of the suspects is the Cape Town branch manager of Procaya Construction. He is among those accused of laundering around 12 million rand between 2016 and 2018. The Serious Commercial Crimes Unit, working with the Western Cape Hawks Tactical Response Team, say the suspects face 66 counts of fraud and money laundering and are being processed at the Woodstock Police Station. Camry Clark, Eyewitness News.
The Gauteng Agriculture Department has allocated 16 million rand to address the foot and mouth outbreak in the province. MEC Vuyiswa Ramaphosa says 286,000 vaccine doses have been administered to animals in the province. An order of about 90,000 vaccines is expected to come from Botswana soon. The province's interventions come amid the worst foot and mouth outbreak in the country, with Gauteng amongst provinces hardest hit. Briefing the media this morning, Ramaphosa says acquiring the vaccines has been a bit of a challenge.
The goal of the provincial government is to quickly suppress the virus and achieve disease-free status as soon as possible, while complying with national and international World Organization for Animal Health standards. This strategy focuses on containing the outbreak first.
The ANC's Regional Executive Committee in Johannesburg has decided that Dada Morero will continue serving as mayor despite losing his bid to retain the party's regional leadership. The REC met yesterday to consider allegations that the elective conference, which saw Loyiso Masuku emerge victorious over Morero, was rigged. Last month, Masuku was elected as the ANC's first female regional leader in the city after defeating Morero. Addressing the media during a media briefing in Houghton last night, ANC Regional Secretary Sasabong Manganye announced the conference resolutions. Alpha Ramushwana was there.
According to ANC tradition, the party's regional leader is generally given preference to also serve as the mayor of the relevant municipality. However, in a metro as large as Johannesburg, the party's national leadership is empowered to intervene and decide on the mayoral candidate and other senior positions. Despite Dada Morero no longer being the ANC's leader in Johannesburg, the party's regional secretary Sasabona Manganye says they see it fitting for him to remain as the mayor.
The REC will engage coalition partners to withdraw the motion of no confidence against the executive mayor, Comrade Dada Morero, and should this not occur, the ANC caucus will be directed to oppose this motion.
Morero, however, believes there were irregularities in the conference which saw him lose the race to retain his position as the ANC's regional leader. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
The DA in KZN has called a meeting with all parties represented in the Provincial Government of Unity as it attempts to mend broken relations. The status of the GPU came under threat following the National Freedom Party's announcement that it's leaving the arrangement, pointing to dissatisfaction. But the DA says such issues must be addressed. Ntantla Mabaso reports.
The DA in KwaZulu-Natal is pushing for the survival of the coalition-led government with the IFP, ANC and NFP saying its stability must prevail. The DA holds 2 positions in the Executive Council, including Finance and Public Works and Infrastructure. Last Saturday, the party had a 2-hour-long meeting with NFP leaders about the GPU and issues affecting it. DA KZN Chairperson Dean McPherson.
The DA has been very clear that we think the GPU represents the best vehicle to deliver growth and jobs for the people of KwaZulu-Natal.
He says all 4 parties will meet in Durban next weekend to map a way forward. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
And U.S. President Donald Trump has sent his top border enforcer to Minneapolis as nationwide outrage continues over the second killing of a U.S. citizen protesting immigration raids this month. The White House has been scrambling as video of the latest shooting went viral. The video prompted street protests and criticism from former presidents Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. Trump says Tom Homan, his point man for border security, will report directly to him. In a marked change of tone, Trump said he held a very good talk with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, a a Democrat whom he has repeatedly accused of corruption. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today. That's why President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota.
Gold is trading at $5,080, 3 cents an ounce. The rand is at 16.02 to the dollar, 21.92 to the pound, 19.05 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $65.88 a barrel.
Traffic remains a bit slow on the M1 South towards Corlett Drive due to an earlier accident while travelling on the N3 North. Some delays between Van Buren Road and the Girulis interchange.
A partly cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng with afternoon thundershowers expected. Temperatures peaking at highs of between 32 and 33 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. 5 people have been arrested in connection with fraud and money laundering during a joint operation by the Hawks in the Western Cape as well as the Eastern Cape.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone, so I settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some. Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. It's time for our World of Work feature.
702.
World of Work.
We talk all things World of Work on this feature, and today we're discussing South Africa's most in-demand jobs for 2026. Because finding a job is about a whole lot more. It's about navigating a job market that's becoming more crowded. It's about navigating a job market that's more competitive. And for many people, that really can get confusing. And yes, some roles attract hundreds of applicants for a single vacancy. There are others that remain difficult for employers to fill because the right skills simply aren't available. So I was looking at this new data from PNet, one of the country's leading online recruitment platforms, and it sheds light on where the pressure is highest and where real opportunities still exist as we move into 2026. And their latest job market trends report looks beyond just the short-term hiring spikes to identify roles and sectors that continue to offer stable, long-term employment prospects. So these findings point to quite intense competition in entry-level and operational roles, while specialist skills in areas like healthcare, finance, engineering, and information technology remain in quite strong demand. And I wonder which jobs you are looking to pivot into for 2026. And are you at all concerned about, what the outlook is for your specific sector? Join this conversation on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Paul Bayen is the head of Insights and Customer Success at PNet, joining us on the line. Paul, thank you so much for coming through to guide us through this conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Always a pleasure. Good to be with you. Thank you.
So when you were looking at this, what stood out the most to you when you were analyzing the job market in South Africa over the past year?
Clement, to start off, what stood out most was actually a really positive end to the hiring season at the end of last year. Looking at the 3 months up from September, October, and November, we had seen each month had shown a progressive year-on-year increase in the previous year's job market availability. So, in other words, there were more jobs available. And we're taking that as a good sign into this new year, into 2026, and we're hoping that we can see the consistency and the continuity of the availability of more jobs in the market.
So your report focuses on like sustainable long-term demand rather than your short-term trends. Why was that an important lens to use now?
Specifically, we saw so much volatility in the early part of last year that we thought it really would make a lot of sense to have a look at those type of job sectors that were showing the sustainable demand. And we looked at all the jobs over the course of last year to try and see what we could predict in terms of what was going to be important coming into this year, into 2026. And it was really very interesting to see that there's a good mix of opportunity across mainly the top 12 sectors that we could see, which were as diverse as job sectors within business and management, sales, finance, and IT, which is where we would expect to see a lot of jobs, but then also manufacturing and assembly, warehouse and logistics, architecture and engineering, even maintenance and repair type jobs, all showing this consistent demand, which we can then in turn predict that that's going to continue into the course of 2026.
So I see that this data also shows like quite intense competition for roles with lower barriers to entry, like when you look at administration, sales, logistics as well.
Yes, very much so. And I think it's such an important time of the year to be looking at that detail because we've got a number of different sort of people at different levels of their careers that are looking to either change jobs if they have been in a job for some time and in sort of the working world for some time. But then, of course, we've got the matriculants that are coming into the job market for the first time, those that have chosen not to go on or have not been able to go on to tertiary quality education. And then we've also got the graduates that are coming into the market. So it was a really appropriate sort of set of data that we wanted to look at. And you're right to say, we're seeing that there's high demand specifically for a cohort of jobs that require lower experience and potentially lower education levels. And there's a good grouping of those. Your call center operators, you mentioned sales, receptionist jobs, cashiers, even junior property agents, telesales, dispatch and receiving, distribution and courier services. Those are all those types of jobs that generally require lower experience, potentially a little, don't require a degree for that type of job, but the converse to all of that is that there's a high demand for those type of roles, as many people are trying to get them.
Yeah, what's the impact of that? Because I mean, if you have this level of competition, I wonder what impact it has on like first-time job seekers and people without tertiary qualifications.
It's a massive impact, Clement, because what we can see is that obviously the competition is really high for those roles. So if we're looking at sort of on average, we would quote that we get 177 applications per job across our platform on a month-by-month basis. And in some of these roles, we can see that those application volumes, as you alluded to earlier, sort of spike into sort of the 300s, 400s, 500s. And in actual fact, when we get into learnership type opportunities and internships, it can be even higher, running into the thousands sometimes. So there's intense competition for some of these roles. And I think that's where we've got to start looking at then what is the key differentiator that's going to set someone apart, someone who maybe has got some of the basic skills in order to be able to get into that job, into those types of jobs, but what else could in actual fact they be focusing on? And I think what we're starting to see, I don't think I know that what we're starting to see in the South African market is that more and more recruiters are looking at the softer skills, what in actual fact sets the person apart in terms of those transferable skills, including things like communication, resilience, teamwork, problem solving, Emotional intelligence comes up a lot, in actual fact. Humility, time management, reliability, learning agility, so important as we go into our future world of work, and where we are constantly saying that ongoing education is becoming a prerequisite now. Every one of us needs to be thinking about how we can continue to upskill ourselves and invest in ourselves. So those transferable skills are what a lot of employers are looking for, and they will definitely at those sort of more entry-level jobs that require sort of the lower experience in education, those soft skills are going to be the big outliers that the recruiters are looking for.
What about specialist skills in IT, in things like engineering, healthcare, and finance? Is there strong demand for that? And if so, why is the skills gap in these sectors proving so hard to close?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Clement. And first and foremost, yes, very much so. There's a high demand for those. And actually, in most of those cases that you've mentioned, there's relatively low competition for the roles. And that does mean exactly what you said. There's a lower availability of skills. We're just not qualifying enough people in those areas. And specifically, if we go into engineering, it's your civil and structural engineers, it's your consulting engineers, your quantity surveyors that we've seen have been in high demand over the last 12 months. Business and management, you've got your business development people, senior management and executive management and directors. You know, for years we've said there have been problems in management and we cannot get necessarily the right type of people into management. So focusing on managerial skills is a great way to actually make sure that you've got an opportunity to grow in your career. Your finance jobs, cost and management consultants, in huge demand, low competition for those roles at the moment. And then specifically, you called out IT. What we can see is a big growth in the demand again. And it's been interesting to see this because it's been quite cyclical. Naturally, as we went through COVID, we saw a massive spike in the demand for specifically software skills. And then after COVID, that kind of petered out a little bit. And for the first time in a long time, we actually saw IT skills and specifically software again dropping off the top of the list of the most in-demand type roles across South Africa. And it was only during the course of the back end of last year that we could actually see software demand growing to the point that it's at the top of that list again. And in addition to that software development, you've got your roles like your business analysis, your data analysis, and data warehouses, IT project managers, system analysts, and your technical and business architecture people. And for me, that's showing, what that is showing is that we're really going full force into sort of this new world of work around AI, digitization, making sure that we've got all the right things working for us from a technology perspective. And we'll continue to see that demand grow is what we're predicting. And then, very interestingly, also medical and health, nursing and pharmacists in particular. We've seen a massive growth in the demand and a consistent growth. Through a lot of last year, we were reporting that those two roles in particular were consistently sort of in high demand month on month. And if you take a different look at it and we sort of say engineering, business and management, finance, IT, medical and health, what we're saying is that actually, those are typically the jobs that most people would say are the jobs of the future. And if you look at where we can see that there's going to be a major focus as we move forwards into the rest of this decade and sort of the early 2030s, it's your technology, it's your green energy, it's your care, education, and some frontline roles, which are going to and are predicted to be the most in-demand jobs going into the future. On the converse of that, you see your clerical roles, your administrative roles, and your routine services, they will start to decline. And we can already see that in our numbers. They're declining quite quickly in actual fact.
Yeah, you spoke about healthcare, which, as you say, continues to show strong hiring activity. Are there specific roles within this sector that are particularly resilient?
Your nursing roles in particular, and then closely followed by pharmacists. And I think what we're seeing is we've got an aging workforce within nurses, and we need to bring in new skills very quickly. And also, we've got a changing set of the type of services that nurses can do. So instead of being clinical or in hospital, we're seeing that there's more sort of call centers, sort of medical type jobs that are being advertised, where the key and the right people for those jobs are your nurses. So there's a much greater demand across a greater number of sort of industries for that type of skill. And this is a global phenomenon. We're just not we're not training enough nurses at the moment. So we see that as a problem area, and hence also why we just see them in demand the whole time.
Exactly. And I mean, government has been making so many promises to try sort that out. I see in manufacturing and construction, there's a demand, but also quite high competition. What's driving that dynamic?
That there's been a lot of infrastructure investment, and I think if you just look around at the amount of building that's happening on, I think that there is this move towards a sort of return to a little bit more stable economy. All our local indicators are pointing in the right direction. I foresee that we can expect a period of growth. Obviously, it could be completely sort of set aside by any geopolitical international type influences that come our way, but generally quite positive in terms of what we're seeing in those two sectors. So, I think infrastructure development and a lot of just private investment in terms of development and building is definitely what's driving that.
So for someone who can't immediately upskill through formal education, what kind of skills or experience can, still make a difference today?
I think a focus on those soft skills that I was talking about earlier, Clement. So there's no doubt about it, again, that the recruiters are really looking for that. And if you look across research across the world, in actual fact, they're saying that soft skills are going to be the in-demand skills of the future. And frankly, if you look at soft skills, those are not that easily taught. So people really have to start honing in on those, specifically when it comes to your emotional intelligence, your communication, time management, even learning agility. Those are things that people need to just make a habit of improving, because those are the things that are going to set people apart. And again, it's a lot more difficult to train for those versus training technical skills. So technical skills can be taught in a lot of cases on the job. But again, employers will be looking at the right kind of person from a cultural perspective to say, I need someone who's eager, who shows that they are resilient, they've got the motivation, their time management is great. So it's all about that attitude. And the attitude and the softer skills have been spoken about in the workplace for a long time, but I think they're really starting to matter, where recruiters are saying in some cases, in actual fact, let's hire for attitude before we actually look at the skills. So people need to really look at this and see how they present themselves when they're going into interviews and when they actually arrive on the job. They need to make sure that they actually follow through in that image that they've created.
Oh, so we have to now position ourselves in the right way, because, yes, 2026 won't depend only on demand, but on how well candidates position themselves.
Very much so. It's all about that. We've spoken about and heard about personal branding. It's such an important thing, because that is that's how people see you. And if they recognize that you've got that soft skill, then they're going to want to work with you to upskill you further and potentially promote you internally and make sure that you get the extra qualifications that you need or skills that you need to be able to perform on the job. So it's becoming really, really important. And you even look at sort of what our recruiters on our platform look at in a CV. They're looking for what sets people apart. So it really becomes a case of, how do I represent myself? How do I make sure that whatever I'm putting in my CV, for argument's sake, is a really great representation of who I am as a person, but also what I can deliver and what I've achieved in the past. And it's the combination of that really then helps people that invest the time in making sure that their CV shows all of that information, helps them get ahead.
So it's important to actually have a complete and up-to-date job profile. What are some common
100%.
mistakes that you think job seekers make that sort of quietly hurt their chances?
I think probably the most important one is not investing enough time in creating that CV that really sells them. If you think about it, Clement, a CV is a person's passport to their career, and recruiters see the CV as that first impression. Can this person deliver on the role that I'm looking to hire for? And recruiters can actually identify what's good and bad in a CV within literally 10 to 15 seconds. So what you put in there has to really stand out. And it's like any document. It needs to look good, but the content within there has to really be spot on. The job seekers need to be positioning themselves in a way that's right for that particular opportunity, so that when the recruiter is trying to match up, has this person got the necessary skills and experience, they can see easily who has got those versus who hasn't. So really what I'm saying is invest that time in making sure that you've got an up-to-date and quality CV, especially in today's world where so much of what recruiters do is based on searches of like the likes of the Peanut CV database, where job seekers can load their CVs to be found by recruiters. But if they're not putting the right type of information into that data, into that CV, then the recruiters are just not going to make the link with them. The technology will just bypass that person completely. So once again, invest the time and the effort in making sure that you've got a really good quality CV that showcases not only the hard skills that you've got, but very definitely those softer human-based skills that I've been talking about. And of course, what you've been able to achieve in everything that you've done through your working career.
Yeah, and of course, that's the advice that also applies to graduates and first-time job seekers. But apart from that, because, we have a lot of them that are coming into the market now. So what other advice specifically do you have for graduates and the first-time job seekers that are entering this job market right now?
Be flexible. I think agility in the workplace is really important. There is so much competition out there for jobs at the moment at that particular level that sometimes you need to accept a job that's not specifically the ideal job that you were hoping for, but use it as an opportunity to learn and to actually experience what working life is all about. And I think that in itself allows people to get a foot in the door of employment. And once you've done that, and if you can bring in these personal sort of human-based skills again, that I've been talking about into the way that you represent yourself in that job, then that opportunity starts to open up. But I really think don't close off anything. Take the opportunities that are available and learn. Use them as a period of discovery. I've sort of in data that we've looked at sometime during the course of last year, we saw that people between the ages of sort of 20 and 30, that 10-year period, are staying in their jobs for about a year and 4 months on average, which many companies would say, well, be careful, don't take a job hopper. And we're saying actually at that particular stage of a person's life, what they're really trying to do is to discover what it is that they like and what they don't like. And it's quite all right that they change jobs and move between opportunities as they sort of go through this particular discovery. Then in that next decade of their professional life, in their 30s to 40s, they can really then start honing in on building their career. So don't be scared of, again, taking that entry-level job that is going to give you that initial kickstart into the working world, and from there start to build on everything that we need in terms of skills and attitude and delivery.
And what about experienced professionals who may be considering a career shift? Where should they be focusing their energy?
Two things. Once again, as important that we look at their softer skills, they need to be able to show that they've got this passion, this ability to communicate, this resilience, the teamwork, all those things that I was talking about. And the other thing is that all of us need to be thinking about the importance of ongoing education. And people need to be upskilling themselves, even if it's just sort of micro sort of learning opportunities of how to get better at whether it's Excel or creating a PowerPoint, or if it's more technical in that sort of data analysis or whatever the case may be. There are so many courses available online, some of them are free, some of them at very low sort of entry prices, that people just need to be spending some time, again, investing that time in how they build their skill base. All of this stands out in the CV. All of it creates that opportunity for employment, specifically when recruiters are looking and they're searching through databases and saying, find me the right person with this type of skill that needs to be up to date. So it doesn't matter where you are in your career. You need to be thinking pretty much the same. Once again, how you represent yourself, even at that higher level of where people might find themselves in their career, we still need to be putting our best feet forward and saying, right, this is who I am, this is what I can do, and here is the portfolio that shows what I've actually achieved in my past.
Yeah, here's a voice that's come through.
Hi, Clement and the team. My question to your guest is, don't you think that the main reason why some of these jobs are difficult to fill is that these are not new jobs, but these are jobs that were left by experienced people who left to join other companies, and some of them, they retired. And these companies are looking for a specific expert. So, David in Melrose.
Thanks, David. Paul?
Thanks, David. I hear his point, but I do think that, we can see in the data that there's a range of jobs that have been advertised across different skills levels. So, and sort of career time in a job. So, to an extent, yes, companies will be looking for skilled professionals. But at the same time, a lot of companies are recognizing the importance of investing in the future of talent. And specifically, as we can see that the demand for talent in certain areas is just increasing and increasing rapidly and becoming that much more competitive, companies are saying, right, how do we grow these skills from within? How do we make sure that we identify the right people that we can then bring into our workplace so that we know that we can tap into these skills? So, to an extent, yes, there will be experienced hire that companies are looking to fill. But again, if we look at the data, we definitely can see those type of roles that are available to our youth that are getting into the market for the first time, and specifically again around those type of jobs like the call center operators, your salespeople, receptionists and cashiers and so on that I mentioned earlier. Those are definitely very targeted at that younger individual getting into their careers for the first time.
Paul, thank you so much for making time for us. Paul Byrne is the head of insights and customer success at PNet. 11:30, time for the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, we're going to start our health and wellness feature. We're discussing the impact of sugar on adults. Are you an adult that takes a lot of sugar? What's been the impact on you? And maybe you've realized the impact and the stuff that you started to do now to deal with that. What is it? Please share your experience with us. You can call us or send us a WhatsApp voice note. Maki, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. We begin in the capital where KwaZulu-Natal Hawks boss Lesetja Sinona has confirmed that he knows criminally accused tender tycoon Vusmusi Ket Matlala and considers him a younger brother. Sinona, currently testifying before the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today, claims he was introduced to Matlala during his traditional wedding in Mamelodi in 2019. He told the commission that he befriended Matlala because he was humble, something Sinona took a liking to. 5 people have been arrested in connection with fraud and money laundering during a joint operation by the Hawks in the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape. The arrests took place early this morning at multiple homes. The suspects allegedly laundered 12 million rand in intercompany transactions. And the EFF has welcomed the decision by communications regulator ICASA to gazette new regulations requiring service providers to roll over unused data. From next year, telecommunications companies will be required to roll over prepaid airtime and data bundles instead of allowing them to expire. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by cars.co.za. Let's find what moves you. Amo?
Well, Clement, we've got delays on the M1 North leaving Marlborough Drive towards the Baklu turnoff. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic on the N3 North between Van Buren Road and the Kilulis interchange. The N12 as well as the R24 West also backed up between Edenvale Road and the Kilulis turnoff. If you're traveling in the Crown City area and Mayfair areas, please be on the lookout for some delays on several routes, including Main Reef Road, Crownwood Road, and even the M2 West. And then if you're traveling in the Protea Glen area, there's delays on the N12 West approaching the R558, and that's due to faulty traffic lights there. That's your last traffic update from me, Amo Ramela. More updates coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
It's Carl de Koza here in another Carl de Koza production starring Carl de Koza and Cars.Koza. In this country, we don't just drive cars, we love cars.
If you got 4 wheels and it says great,
So slide into our DMs on WhatsApp and let's find what moves you.
Remember where you were when Shaba scored in 2010? Now imagine that magic again alongside global football royalty like Didier Drogba, Del Piero, Puyol and more. Juego de Leyendas 2026 brings the legends back for one unforgettable showdown. Goals, glory and goosebumps all over again. Stream Juego de Leyendas 2026 now on Prime Media Plus. Download the app or visit primemediaplus.com. Brought to you by Prime Media Sports.
Kick off to glory with Hollywood Bets and Aziz Shege. Be in the game. Go full speed ahead with the epic competition. You stand to win a share of 4 million rand in cash and prizes, including an all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Bet 10 rand or more on any soccer fixture or fixtures online or at your nearest branch. Live life in the fast lane. Bet now for your chance to score. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
Your office is more than just a place to work. It's a reflection of your success. At Desk and Chair, we help you elevate your workspace with locally manufactured desks and a wide range of chairs to suit your style and budget. Our expert consultants are with you every step of the way, from planning to delivery and assembly. Visit our showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk and Chair. Think, feel, work better.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Gold went past $2,000 an ounce just in 2020, past $3,000 an ounce in May last year, then just a few months later, $5,000. The acceleration in the price has been just astonishing.
There's a double whammy for gold. One is Trump's behavior and the effect it's having on U.S. confidence and the dollar. So the weaker the dollar gets, the more people are rushing into gold because there's no other really attractive currency other than the Swiss franc.
Peter Armitage, the CEO of Anchor Capital.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB. That's how we're invested in your story. Your story matters. ABSA is a registered FSP.
702.
Health and Wellness.
24 minutes before 12 o'clock on our Health and Wellness feature this morning, we're talking about the impact of sugar consumption on adults, because sugar is everywhere. It's in our morning coffee, it's in our packaged snacks, your sauces, even foods that we don't really think of as sweet. And while many of us associate sugar with these childhood treats we used to have or an occasional indulgence, the reality is that as adults, we are consuming far more sugar than we actually realized on a daily basis. So as we juggle these busy lives, stress and convenience eating, sugar has quietly become a major part of modern adult diet. But what does that actually mean for our health? What does it mean for our energy levels, our weight, our mood, and long-term well-being? We've invited Kari Erasmus, who is a registered dietitian with the Heart and Stroke Foundation, to guide us through this conversation and advise us on what we can do better to manage our consumption of sugar. Kari, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a huge pleasure. Always lovely to talk about these very important things.
Yeah. From a dietitian's perspective, why is sugar such an important topic for adult health?
Yes, so that's because, as you mentioned, in recent times, we are having lots and lots more sugar than we should. And this excessive consumption is linked to increased risk of chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, heart disease. So sugars are very energy dense, and that can result in either you're taking in too many calories, also poor nutrient intake, so lots of energy but not enough nutrients. It also can be bad for digestion and cause increased inflammation in the body that causes all of these chronic diseases.
So sugar itself then is not necessarily the problem. It is the quantity and the frequency with which we consume it.
So a very important fact about this is that there are different types of sugars. So you can say, yes, it's the quantity and frequency, but it's also the type of sugars, because there's a clear distinction between added sugar and natural sugars and how they impact our bodies and our health. So natural sugars, for example, are found naturally in your whole foods like fruits, vegetables, dairy products. And while these foods contain sugars, They also contain fiber, lots of vitamins and minerals, or good bacteria that helps the digestive system, which at the end result is really beneficial for your health. But then you also get added sugar. And on the other hand, these are sugars that are not naturally present, but only added later during processing or preparation. So that's, for example, your table sugar, your corn syrups, your honeys, stuff like that in your sweetened beverages, your baked goods, and so on. And this is really the type of sugar that, number one, we're consuming a lot more of, but number two, really has that non-beneficial effect on our health and puts us at risk for things like insulin resistance, blood sugar problems, and so on.
How does excess sugar affect energy levels and blood sugar regulation?
Yes, so sugar and insulin, they are the two ones that really affect your blood sugar. So as you eat something that contains sugar and that sugar is released into your blood, that triggers your body to secrete insulin. And insulin is then what's going to cause your cells to uptake that sugar out of your blood. So when you have lots of sugar, there's insulin in response, and then it takes the sugar out of the blood. But what happens is, because we are having so much sugar and so often, our bodies are getting resistant. So it gets so used to having all of the sugar in the blood that it no longer seems abnormal. So over time, less and less insulin is released, and that means that sugar stays in your blood vessels. And then that's when severe damage can happen in the blood vessel and just in the whole metabolism, our mitochondria. All of this gets influenced, and yes, and then that's when we see the risk of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes.
What role does sugar play in weight gain, particularly around the abdominal area?
Yes, so sugar plays a key role in weight gain. When we consume high amounts of sugar, it gets metabolized by the liver, and that excess sugar gets converted to fat. So if we're having lots of energy, we're not using it, that gets converted to fat. And often that fat can be visceral fat around the abdominal organs. And this is especially worrying because it's this visceral fat around the organs and in the abdominal area that is actually linked to chronic diseases, especially hypertension and heart disease. So we see people that have a higher waist circumference or a larger abdominal area are actually more at risk for high blood pressure and heart disease.
And what are the consequences of this excessive consumption of sugar as adults? I mean, I'm thinking about the strong link, for instance, between sugar consumption and conditions like type 2 diabetes and heart diseases. What are the other consequences people must be aware of?
Yes, no. So, like you mentioned, first of all, chronic diseases is a major one. So that's a major consequence. Of course, it's also cumulative. So once you have too much sugar and, for example, you develop insulin resistance, your risk is higher for diabetes. But also, if you, for example, have high blood pressure and you're taking in too much sugar, that increases your risk even more so for something like heart disease or even stroke. But then, on the other hand, there are some other consequences that we don't always think of immediately. So one of the things is that more and more research is actually showing how sugar influences our digestive health. And so in our digestive system, we have tens of thousands of hundreds of bacteria, beneficial bacteria that help with digestion, but also influences our whole metabolism and our overall health. So a high sugar diet actually decreases the amount of beneficial bacteria, and then that can cause more and more inflammation in the body, and that can affect the whole body. We also know, for example, that our digestive system is really linked to our mood. For example, people with a high sugary diet, there's some evidence that also shows that they have higher rates of depression. So there are serious consequences to unhealthy diets.
And I was saying earlier that there's some food that we eat on a daily basis that probably has, hidden sugar. And I wonder if you can share with us some commonly like hidden sugars in adults' diets that we need to be aware of.
Yes, definitely. So one of the major contributors, if not the highest contributor of hidden sugar in our diets, is actually sugar-sweetened beverages. So your cold drinks, your fizzy drinks have large amounts of sugar. I mean, one can of a fizzy drink can have up to 9 to 10 teaspoons of sugar, just one can, and often we'll find ourselves consuming it very quickly and definitely consuming more than one can a day. So you might easily get up to 20 teaspoons of sugar in your diet just by consuming 2 cans of cold drink. So that is a really big one. We see that adults who drink one sugary drink daily are 27% more likely to be overweight. And for children, that's even worse. So children who drink one sugary drink daily are 55% more likely to be overweight. And then drinking 2 or more of these sugary drinks can increase your risk of developing diabetes by at least 24%. So it's definitely, our drinks are really something that we need to look out for.
And if I decide to make changes now, what happens in the body when someone reduces their sugar intake? Like, do those cravings actually decrease?
Yes, so that's a great question. So sugar intake and cravings are very related because our brain has a reward system. So when we have energy-dense foods or high sugary foods, we get increase of dopamine, and that leaves us wanting more. It also, that dopamine can bypass our fullness signal, so we don't feel full and we can eat more. Often if we think about these sugary foods, they're also hyperpalatable, meaning they have been so chemically modified or processed that they dissolve very quickly in the mouth. So we eat more and more, or we drink more and more. So yes, definitely, once we stop having these, there is a short period where you still get these cravings. You're going through, you're not getting as much dopamine as you used to, and that can cause cravings, and then your blood glucose levels, of course, also need to adjust, because now where you were getting these blood sugar spikes because of the high sugary food, and now you're decreasing that, your blood glucose levels tend to drop, and that can trigger cravings as well, because your brain is not necessarily knowing what's going on, so it's kind of triggering you to think, oh, I need that high sugary food, because your brain is worried, why is your blood glucose levels dropping now? So that's the first few days, but what's great and a motivator for people is that you do have an adaptation phase or taste adaptation, where once your blood glucose levels or your blood sugar levels start to normalize, your insulin sensitivity becomes improved, so your body is better to responding to sugar intake. Your digestive system, that gut bacteria that I was speaking about, starts to build up again and improve, and then you get craving reductions. Your dopamine receptors normalize, you reduce sugar cravings over time, and also your taste adapts, meaning you get used to food that is not as sweet anymore, and you actually start to prefer these types of food.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to some listeners' questions in a moment. But when it comes to men, for instance, how does this excess sugar impact testosterone levels, and is there an impact on muscle mass as well?
Yes, so insulin or sugar, let's say sugar, we know it's highly related to insulin, and insulin is again associated with different hormones. So in women, for example, it would be estrogen, and in men, it would be testosterone. So there is actually evidence that shows that men who follow a high sugar diet with low nutrients, actually that causes insulin resistance, and insulin resistance is associated with lower testosterone. So if you are more insulin resistant, you do have lower testosterone, and of course testosterone influences muscle mass. Lower testosterone means lower muscle mass. So yes, definitely something that men do need to look at is making sure they don't have too much sugar in their diet.
All right, let's get to the listeners' questions now on 072 7021 702. That's where your voice notes are coming through. Your calls on 011 883 0702.
Good morning, Clement and your guest. I would like to know if there are any risks of fructose, the sugar that we get from fruits. Can one consume too much fructose? And if so, what could be the health risks there?
Okay, Kari?
Yes, that's a great question. So fructose, as mentioned, is naturally present in fruits. And while it is a sugar, what's great about when you consume it in the package that it comes with is it comes with fiber. And fiber is so great because it actually helps slow that sugar release into the blood. So when you eat the fruit, it's not released as quickly into your bloodstream as, let's say, a juice would be, because it has all that fiber. So the insulin response is very different. So instead of getting that insulin resistance, you get a controlled insulin response, which is great. Of course, you also get lots of vitamins and minerals that we know is very important for other areas in the body. But what I have to say also is that for people with specific conditions, so if you are already insulin resistant or you are a diabetic, you do have to consider that it still has fructose, or it still has that sugar. So there, it would be important just to control the amount. So for diabetics, for example, we say not to have too much fruit at one time, because at the end of the day, you don't want too much sugar released into the blood at one time. So one fruit at a time, but of course you can have more than one a day.
Okay, Ben, you're calling us from Pretoria. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Sharp. Go ahead.
Good stuff. I just got a following question, please. So I used to be a fatty. About a year and 8 months ago, I started the keto diet, subsequently exercising. In total, lost about 38 kilograms.
Wow.
Since February last year, I've not been on the keto diet anymore, so I've incorporated starches, etc., etc. I gym and train very hard, but once a week on a Friday, I properly indulge in sugar.
How much
and
do you
by properly,
indulge,
I mean all the way, dude. I go, for instance, in a movie, it takes a time, hour and a half, I'd have a Rolos, Sally Williams nougat, licorice, all sorts, King Cone Bowl 1, and a slab of chocolate, and just for good measure, some speckled eggs as well. But for the rest of the time, I don't have any sugar.
Okay.
But on Fridays, I have all the sugar.
Yeah, and you and I are the same, my friend. Yeah. Let's ask what Kari has to say there. Yeah. Kari?
Yes, well, first of all, well done. It really sounds like you've made some positive behavior changes, and that's really the first step to any kind of improvement. Yeah, I think the one thing that we do still need to be cautious of is that major blood sugar spike. So yes, I am totally for indulging, especially, a healthy, balanced diet is all about 80-20 basing your diet on healthy things, but also indulging in the foods that give you enjoyment. But we have to be careful. It sounds like when you do indulge, you go
All the way.
out. Yeah, so just be cautious because that after that period, it does mean that you will have a major blood sugar spike. And that spike can be dangerous. We have talked about damage to blood vessels and so yeah, I would say definitely do indulge, but maybe not as like maybe instead of once a week so majorly, slightly more frequently and slightly less so that you do have that more controlled blood sugar spike.
Yeah. Ben, all the best, my friend. Is honey a good substitute, Kari? And can you have it daily with a coffee or tea? That's another question we're getting.
Yes, so contrary to popular belief, honey is actually very energy dense. If you look at honey and sugar, it's very similar in the type of blood sugar response that you do get. So it's definitely something that still needs to be controlled as much as you would control sugar. Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Clement. Question for your guest. White sugar compared to brown sugar. Now, I have about 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day, black, with 2 teaspoons of sugar. Sometimes less, sometimes more. What is the difference between consuming coffee with white sugar and brown sugar? Is brown sugar not as dangerous, or am I ill-informed about that?
Thank you. Carrie?
Yes, that is also a very popular misconception. In actual fact, there is a very, very small difference between white and brown sugar. They both will still give you a similar blood sugar response. So definitely brown sugar does also need to be as limited as white sugar.
The sugar, what about starches, carbohydrates? That's huge in the South African diet. You know, your rice, your pap, that kind of stuff. Because carbohydrates get converted into sugar in the body, and what is not used gets stored. So that's the main reason, I reckon, for the high rates of diabetes and obesity in that. I mean, obviously, sugary drinks do have an effect, but they're expensive. So majority of people don't go buy a can or 2 cans a day or whatever. It's just too expensive. But our main diet is very high in carbohydrates, which are sugar. Okay.
Kari?
Yeah, that's also a great question. And when it comes to sugar, as he mentioned that at the end of the day, it does get our carbohydrates does get digested into sugar. So when you think about the carbohydrates that you're eating, it's all about the package that you're getting it in, because yes, you are getting the sugar, but you need to focus more on what are the other things that I'm getting. For example, if you eat a pack of slab chips, you are getting the sugar, but you're not getting much nutrients. If you eat a serving of brown rice, yes, you're getting the sugar. You're also getting fiber, which is more beneficial because it decreases the rates which the sugar is released. You're getting vitamins, nutrients. You're getting phytochemicals, which is very important for your digestive system, which improves overall health. So it's all about the type of carbohydrates and what are the other things that I'm getting when I consume these carbohydrates.
Kari, Erasmus, thank you. Always great chatting to you. Registered dietitian with the Heart and Stroke Foundation.
Calling all wedding planners and venues, restaurants, conference centers, and hotels. Do you need tables and chairs? Home in One has it all. Do you need cutlery, crockery, table linen, and restaurant equipment? Home in One has it all. Do you need tents, gazebos, or umbrellas? Home in One has it all. Affordable prices, the latest trends, with 2 branches in Pretoria and Johannesburg. Shop online at homein1.co.za because we're your number one choice. Home in One has it all.
Join the Department of Human Settlements, government and industry leaders, innovators and visionaries at the Summit on Innovative Building Technologies, where cutting-edge solutions are shaping sustainable, inclusive and resilient human settlements. Tune in on 702 on the 3rd of February, broadcasting live at the Nasrec Expo Centre, Johannesburg from 9 a.m. to 12. Visit dhs.gov.za for more. The Department of Human Settlements, houses, security, comfort.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore, it's who you are, and you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
You keep your brain trained like a well-oiled machine. Now it's time to put your brain in the game, because the brain of 702 is back with your chance to flex your general knowledge smarts.
In which country is the famous statue Christ the Redeemer?
Enter now on primemediaplus.com. Then catch 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and 702 Drive with John Perlman. There's 3,000 Rand up for grabs every day. Brain of the Week wins 10,000 Rand and a spot in the finals to compete for the title of the Brain of 702 and an awesome 30,000 Rand cash on 702. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
All right, coming up next, the Midday Report with Mendy Wiener. Thank you for listening to the Tuesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. Let's chat again tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Mikey Malapo. We begin in the capital where KwaZulu-Natal Hawks boss Lesecha Senona has confirmed he knows criminally accused tender tycoon Vusmusi Kat Matlala and considers him a younger brother. Senona is testifying before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today. He claims he was introduced to Matlala during his traditional wedding in Mamelodi in 2019 and befriended him because he was humble. Senona says at the time Matlala was dating his wife's relative.
My relationship with Mr. Matlala is not